Hello! How are we all doing? Oh, it's a bank holiday here, so I've had a very good day. Although, having said that, not had any ice cream yet. So many of you in the chat, and I've just said to Mike, why are all the names in red? And he says they're not on his system. Typical. So, I'm alive yet?
Yeah.
I'm just talking to myself.
No, you've just gone live.
So, Renee was first, according to this, but that may or may not be right. But congratulations anyway. Because even he said it may or may not be the first. YouTube's got a mind of its own. Right. So, Renee was first, allegedly. Followed by Patricia. No, Patience. Hello, Patience. And Pandemonium. Yes, happy Easter, everybody. There's Patience. And Kim. Kim is in the house as well. Good evening, Jonathan.
Happy two-step verification.
Oh, what's this for?
Notion on my iPad.
Oh, that's interesting. No, she's not done that to me. Happy Pesach, Jonathan. What else have we got? Oh, hang on. G Trimpin. Oh, hello. I don't think we've chatted before.
We have.
Have we? Oh,
yes.
In that case. No, well, never mind. You're very welcome anyway. And Debbie's with us. And Carol is in the house. Second time again, Carol. Getting to be a habit, this, isn't it? And who else have we got? I see Jammy. Good grief, he's early.
That's because the gym's shut.
Oh, yes.
The gym's shut for Easter.
Did you know the gym should be permanently shut? And then you'd be here on time. Excellent. Right, who else have we got in here? Oh dear, I'm going to struggle with that pronunciation. I know I am. I'm having a good look at it. What do you think, Mike? Achidocrates?
Yeah, we did that last week.
Excellent. Right, I'm improving then. The gym's shut. Excellent.
This isn't good.
What?
Oops, something went wrong.
Can you not just kick it or something?
Kick my iPad, yeah.
Since when did Notion become two-factored?
It's because I was signing in with Google.
Yeah. Oh, it's Google the two-factoring you. Mike may or may not be doing a demo later. Depends.
It's all right. It's in Obsidian.
You see, just look at this. You know, I only wish they could see me. I have my running order on the desk on a Post-it note.
My backup.
That's how bad Notion's been this week.
My backup's in Obsidian.
Oh, well, away you go then. Have you got your sync sorted?
I don't know.
Oh, this could be one of our infamous holiday shows. Just saying. You know what it's like. Hello, Peter. And hello, Deborah. Excellent.
Pronunciation is good. The name is Gerd.
Gerd. Right, that's much easier. Mike, make a note of that. Right, okay. And Walter as well. Walter Holmes from Atlanta. Ooh, I bet it's warm over there. It's always warm over there. We're told that this weekend's going to be our hottest weekend of the year so far, and I don't like heat. And that's nothing compared to what you get there. When they say the hottest of the year, it'll be something like in the low 20s. But that's warm for us. Right, let's see if everything's working, and then I can share the joy, or not, of the week at MacBites headquarters. So, moving over here, pressing all the right buttons. Oh, things are moving. Excellent. Right, so busy old week. We do have the week at MacBites headquarters. If you're eating, you might want to not eat later. Just saying. I'll give you another warning closer to it. I have Raycast AI. We talked last week about the update to Raycast, which shipped with the AI component, but it needed to be sorted out at their end for you to get any access to it. I'd signed up weeks ago, and I'd also created a Raycast account. That's totally free, and at the moment, the AI is free. And it's not doing bad. It's not doing what it should be doing, but it's not doing bad. I will reveal all. Then we've got two updates to Notion. We looked at the buttons last week. This week's update is Wiki and verification. But we are following up from last week when live on the show you witnessed the embryonic dirty hack. I followed up with the dirty hack that Kim was getting very excited about and have a proof of concept that it's actually working. It's not working in the way I think it should be, but it works. So I have been able to lay to rest my now historic template buttons. They are now buttons. It is easier than using templates. I just wish they do it properly, but I will share with you my dirty hack. Then we have a guest presenter because it's Windows, so I'm best left.
Who would that be?
Well alone. It would be this bloke that I know.
Oh.
It would be you.
Oh, me.
Yay!
Yes.
Mike is back in the house with some PowerToys for Windows. If you're a Windows user, you're going to love these. It makes your Windows machine act like a Mac. If you're a Mac user that sometimes has to use a Windows machine, this is going to revolutionise your life. Think Alfred, think Raycast. Then we have some freebies, some rather nice wallpaper, I recall. And then, as deeply requested last week and in subsequent mails, show us how to make Obsidian look less black and white. So I'm doing themes and my custom CSS that I wrote. Oh, it's like Morecambe and Wise, isn't it? The play what I wrote. Yes, the CSS what I wrote. Also highly requested last week was a note-taking workflow. So this week I will show you I'll actually take you through the creation of how I would take notes at a multi-event event, if you're with me, sessions at an event. But I will also share with you a real one this week that had 41 sessions. Now, previously, when I've done anything like that for myself, making notes myself, it's like I'll handwrite it and I'll do it, I'll sort it out later, because you literally cannot keep up. I didn't handwrite anything because that way madness lies. I can never find anything in the future. So whenever I'm taking notes, it's digitally, it's in Obsidian. It does not stop me if I want to take a screenshot and include that. I will show you how to do that as well. So that is what we have planned. Before all of that, of course, we're running at 1080p. Make sure you're watching at 1080p. It is in the lower right-hand corner next to the cog, which is very close by to the like button. That would help us immensely, immensely. I've got weirdness going on the channel, trust me. Getting snotograms. So any likes would be most appreciated. So,
Jackie says it only took 20 episodes into season 2 for Tobler and Thomas to come back. Unboxings next.
Well, you never know. You never know what might happen.
Somebody's done an unboxing.
Yes, I believe so. I haven't seen it yet,
Me
though.
neither.
That is something we are savouring until tomorrow. Right, so last Saturday was 1st of April. I decided I was not reading any news whatsoever, but I said to you about April the 1st, the world is that crazy at the moment. They could put anything out and I'd just be like, yeah, that probably happened. So I don't think our news bothered much. Let us know if anybody got you. Mike had enough with Asda, with Tesco, so moved to Asda, didn't you?
I did.
Yes, and then what happened? They promised Lola some misfit treats. They're one of her favourites. They lied. She was not a happy dog. Not only did she not get to see Wendy, but they lied to her. You're going with Asda tomorrow, though, aren't you?
Yeah.
That's only because Tesco are worse. We might have to diversify, you know. Did you see that stuff last week talking about an average basket of shopping? There was an average basket of shopping and an average trolley full of shopping. And the difference between the supermarkets was, I think, the cheapest was Asda at £347. And this was for the same stuff. And the most expensive?
M&S.
Waitrose. Who else? They're just up the road, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, and theirs was nearly £400 for the same thing. But Lola, not happy. So we went on to Sunday. There was good scope here for Mike not to be happy as well. There was a football match. Shall we not talk about the football, Mike?
Oh, we lost him.
Yes, it was Newcastle, if you recall. Yes, it didn't end well. Do you know, just when you think they're on top.
Bad words were said.
Very bad words were said. It's like they can't be bothered. That's what annoys me. And, you know, like they're going for a tackle and they look like a gust of wind would blow them over. Yeah. It wasn't good. I entertained myself with the box set of the week, highly recommended, available in its totality on the iPlayer right now. Sorry, Peter. You know what that means? No, what happened with Magpie Murders was I wanted to watch it last year. It was on BritBox. But I don't have a BritBox subscription, do I? Because I don't really watch much telly. It's not worth it. I hunted high and low for it, couldn't find it. Anyway, I noticed that the first episode was on. So I promised Mike that I wouldn't be long, that it would be an early night on Saturday. So it finished, and as the credits were rolling, they said, and the rest of the season is on iPlayer right now. Well, that was a late night then, wasn't it?
It was.
Sorry about that. But on Monday, I was back on the scent. The frustration continued apace with what was fast becoming the longest delivery in MacBites headquarters history. I mentioned it last week, if you recall. It was purchased on the 19th of March. You'll notice it was actually shipped on the 26th, so it took them 7 days to get it out of the building. But after that, it just went downhill. No news on Monday at all. Tuesday, they'd received it somewhere. I don't know where Parcel Shop is. Doesn't look like they did either. Then it turned out they'd collected it. But it then took them another 10 hours to be sorted. So this was the sender's local department, still not on its way. Then they're processing it at their hub. They didn't say where their hub was either. So by Friday, it had reached the dizzying heights of the delivery depot. And they were going to let me know when it was out for delivery, and that was the last I heard of that. I wasn't pleased. It was a book. You know, I don't buy that many Dead Tree books. I don't. But this one I can't get on Kindle. And this is what happens. Whereas with a Kindle book, I'd have read it by now. In fact, I'd have read it before they actually posted it. But there you go.
Kim says, is this your Royal Mail?
No, this wasn't Royal Mail. This was it Hermes?
I don't know.
Yeah, they're like, who's the other idiots? Yodel. They're like Yodel, but worse. These are not part of our Royal Mail system. They are a courier, but they don't actually have like full-time staff. They use people in their cars. So you get it sometime never, and this was the beginning of week 2 of Bookwatch. But actually it'd been on its way for 3 weeks by then. So, Tuesday, what could possibly go worse? I was thinking, Tuesday, maybe the book will arrive. Yeah, it got even worse. I won't even say before it got better. 2:00 in the morning, there I am, working quite happily with my little self. I thought, I don't like the feel of this. Now, what was weird was the mail was coming in. WhatsApp was fine. Even the A-ladies at that stage were fine, because if they go down, that's it, can't turn a light on or off. But suddenly we lost the lot. So I thought, that's Virgin down. I think it was probably a DDoS attack, but they didn't admit that. So after an hour struggling along, because my 4G was a bit upset as well, I thought, you know what, just go to bed. How much worse could it get? And then I was reminded that this was the small hours of Tuesday morning, which meant it was bin day. While that's every week, it's only once every 2 weeks they actually take any real rubbish, hence the excitement. But this time it wasn't without issue. Bins versus robots in a head-to-head it was. This is the after, isn't it, this one, Mike? You didn't take a before.
No.
But Mike was in the kitchen at lunchtime, and he spotted a robot completely flummoxed, stuck in the middle of the pavement, didn't know what to do, bless it. Because those 2 bins that are now pushed up against the wall weren't pushed up against the wall, they were left strewn in the middle of the pavement. And the robot was just stood looking at them, and obviously the bins couldn't move themselves. So Mike headed out and moved the bins. The robot pointed the robot in the right direction, and we're happy to report the robot got his bearings and got on his way just a few moments later. But it's like we said, they are lethal when they put those bins there. I appreciate you can see from that house, they don't have room for their bins. Their bins are in front of the red car by the hedge. So the bin men wouldn't put them back on the path, but they could at least push them up to the wall. What if that was a blind person?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, even with a guide dog, the guide dog's not going to walk them into the middle of the road to get past them. Dogs don't do that. Dogs have got more sense. Anyway, it was all sorted, which was just in time because Virgin was back online. Oh, happy bunny. That was important because building a second brain, cohort 17, was due to start. So I'm sat there in the first session. I get to an hour 20 into it and everything freezes on Zoom. And I thought, oh no, tell me it's you and not me. I'd rather it was you than it was me. No, internet down again. We got a message from Virgin, which was more than we got overnight. And I quote, "Our engineers are working on it." Yes, I'm sure they are. They were recovering from the night before as well. This is what the down detector discovered. So that's me at 2 o'clock in the morning, one of the first ones to report, internet's down. Panic. Apparently it went down again at 8 o'clock, but by then I was in bed and I didn't care. But you said it was okay.
It was for me.
Yeah, but look what happened at 5 o'clock, which was in the middle of my session. Twitter was classic. This is when Twitter's at its best. This was somebody who posted that. And I thought, well, yes, that's rather true, isn't it? Virgin did manage to get a message up, which didn't please me any either. We're working on it. There's something wrong. Yeah, you don't say. I've got no internet. And for years and years, we've used O2 as a backup, haven't we?
Yeah.
Which would have been grand. But for the fact that Virgin bought O2. Thanks for that. They did apologise. They've still not said what the problem was. They're trying to find the root cause of it and fix it, but they don't know what it was. So Tuesday was great. Great fun. It was up and down, up and down. Yes, the A-ladies did go off. No, we were in two minds, weren't we? Well, I'm always in two minds whether to fiddle with the lights. Mike completely forgets you can turn the lights off at the wall with a switch. We have no problem with hand sanitizer and the light switches, do we? Never touch them. But if you turn them off, then obviously later on you've got to turn them back on and persuade the A-lady that they're actually there. So it's a nightmare. I did turn them off.
Peter made a point earlier in the chat that Johnny's getting lazy if he can't flick a switch to boil a kettle. But does the same apply to us?
No, not lazy. We just... Well, actually, we're making our own lives more complicated. Because if you flip the switch on and off every time you turn a light on, you'd be fine. But they'll last much longer and you don't have to clean them as often, do you? It's all practical here, On Wednesday, the internet was hanging by a thread. But we did have connectivity, which was when I discovered Apple clearly didn't. I don't know if they're with Virgin, but the Apple Weather app went down. And that couldn't even, they weren't even claiming to be hanging by a thread. There was just nothing. That was the second time in the week it had been down. But luckily with the weather, we can just look out of the window. Not so with internet access. But it is possible locally, very locally, that help was on its way. As I looked out of the office window and Mike careered up the stairs with some photos from the back garden, a new telegraph pole had arrived. Luckily, it's not outside our front door, but it is accosting my line of sight from the office window. We've got the pole. There's no cables on it yet. But, we live in hope. We live in hope. And yes, those cars, they're not ours. They are idiots parked on my pavement. It won't end well for them. But I did manage to have enough internet for my power hour for second brains. So I had a rare old chat there. We were chatting about AI and how useful it was. Then it was time for Mike to suffer again, although I had high hopes they might win this one. You said it was touch and go. Anyway, they did win, but apparently neither team played well, did they?
No.
But of more concern to us was actually getting to watch the match. This was another match not on the TV in the UK. Notice that in the UK. Because I found this. Not on the TV in the UK is mildly annoying until you discover it's on the TV live in at least 12 other countries. Thanks for that. Anyway, armed with that list, Mike headed off to see if any of them were free to air with a VPN tucked in his back pocket. But no, we got about, would you say 20 minutes of it?
Yeah.
And then it disappeared. It usually disappears behind images of an adult nature. At least that didn't happen this time. It just vanished. Anyway, quite a few of you have asked me a pertinent question here, with our lockdown still continuing. I'll be missing attending the games. Let's just share the fact that watching from home means, when you can, that we have all the luxuries of home. Eating out isn't always to be welcomed. I thought I'd share the price of this first, before you actually see it, because if I don't, once you've seen the food, massive air quotes, the price just won't have the same impact. The price is £7.50 for what you're about to see, which is $9.50 or €8.50. Brace yourself. You're about to see a hot dog with cheese. Well, that's what it said on the board anyway. Allegedly. This is if you are eating, you might not want to eat anymore. So this is from the concession at Old Trafford. Yes. I wondered if they had one that they'd already cooked. I also contemplated sending out a search party looking for the cheese. Is that food? I swear Lola would turn her nose up at that. I did the Googles because as I'm sitting there, I'm thinking, well, I think the onions are missing, I thought to myself. But then I thought, that bread's a bit anemic. So I thought, no, I need to do the Googles. Oh, I did. This is a cheese dog. As is that. That actually looks really nice. I'm liking the onions, the salad onions there. Not the beer, I could do without that. That's a dog as well, with cheese. My personal favourite is the toasted one. But all of them are cooked. Yeah. Don't go when you're hungry, is what I say. This is not only not a cheese hot dog, it's just not food. So in answer to the are we missing the real deal at the matches, can honestly say no. I never bought anything that said it was meat at Old Trafford.
Don't think I did.
No, the nearest I ever got, if I was hungry, I'd have a portion of chips. And if I was feeling wealthy, because I was a student when this was happening, I would have some gravy on it. It was 40p or 50 with the gravy. I dread to think how much that is now, if that is nearly $10. So what do you think? I'm just waiting for Gordon Ramsay to visit. I would pay money for that to happen. So if anybody knows how we can make that happen, do let me know. Do let me know. Oh, Thursday. Exciting things happened. Remember this? The Follow My Parcel. Yeah, an Easter miracle. It arrived. I was giving up. I was actually giving up, but it arrived. So I'm happily now reading that. It's the Dead Tree version. I also have the audio version. But the audio version was so good and I wanted to make notes on it that I thought I'm going to have to buy the Dead Tree version. Because making notes from audio files is tricky. I know you could otter it, but, I don't want the whole thing. I just want notes. So, 19 days later, it rocked up. This was on the promise of a 3-day delivery. I'd hate to see what had happened if it was a 10-day delivery. Probably see it at Christmas. Although when I said leave getting any Easter eggs till next week, they'll be cheaper. What did you say?
The chocolate Santas will be out then.
I wonder if they'll be any cheaper because it's a bit early. Anyway, never mind. Oh, the other thing on Thursday was a Captain's Table coaching call. That was about podcasts, so that was quite handy. And then on Friday, I didn't want you to be concerned with this. Just in case you thought we were keeping Lola from her robot friends, rest assured, she's keeping a close eye on them every morning. In fact, you were hoping that the pair of you were going to make it onto the local news, weren't you? They rocked up this week and did quite a long piece on it, about 3 or 4 minute piece on the robots. And I love the continuity errors with it because they were treating the robots as though they were all the same, but one of them had bunny ears on and a face. So no, it wasn't. But yes, she's still seeing them. She's having a ball. Then it was time for Captain's Table Mastermind with Carol. Look, I like that every week, Carol. You're the first thing I check. It's Carol in the chat. Now, in all seriousness, it's Easter. So, the world is hereby on notice that the MacBites crew are having a few days off. And you know how that usually goes. So, consider yourself pre-warned. One more thing before we get going, which is some March milestones. And I'm sharing them with you because without you, they wouldn't be happening. So, let's wind back, I think it was 3 weeks, to the 19th of March when I got to 23,000 subscribers. And then last week, if you recall, got to 24,000 in only 10 days. We started the push to 25,000 only last week. Guess what happened? Wow, we made it only 8 days later. So thank you to each and every one of you. And that's not the only stat that I'm sharing, because with all these new subscribers, they must be watching stuff. So on the 9th of March, I reached 2 million views. Not subscribers, views. Subscribers would be nice, but this was views. 11 days later, 2.5 million views. Now, we need some context for this. Is that good, bad, or indifferent? Well, if we're talking in terms of 500,000 views, I was at 1.5 million on the 5th of May 2020. Yes, 1.5 million to 2 million took almost 3 years. It was that long ago. We were only a few weeks into the pandemic. We were tolerating Boris back then. It shows you how times change. So yes, 2 years, 10 months from 1.5 to 2, but only 11 days from 2 to 2.5. Wow. I can't keep up with the stats. I keep checking them, That's why they're going up and down, because I keep checking them. But thank you very much. So we're heading now to 3 million views and, shall we say, 26,000. We should have a party at a certain point, shouldn't we? I mean, 25's big enough for a party. We could say 30. But anyway, I digress. Right, so Raycast AI Beta. Raycast is something that I did switch to. Didn't intend to. Got asked about it and decided I would do a demo of it. It is a launcher, but it's much more as well. So if you've ever used Launchbar or you've used Alfred, then you will instantly understand what Raycast does. So on a simple level, it launches apps. And if that's all you need it for, great. But what they've added in is AI. They do intend to charge for it, which I think is a good way for them to generate income without actually charging for Raycast, because Raycast is completely free. They did ask when you signed up for access to the beta how much you would be willing to pay, because it's not cheap for them. They need to hook into these language models via their own API system. So they have to pay per request. So they need to charge a figure that covers their expenses and makes them some profit. But as I said, I have got access to this thing. It came in. Do you know, that's the second week that's happened. Something came in saying, yay, just as we'd finished the show, after I'd said, I don't have access yet. And then I instantly got access. So let me know in the chat, are you using or have you at least tried ChatGPT or anything like it? Maybe Notion or Craft AI. One of the issues with the AI is like, well, how do I use it in different apps? Because, this is a launcher. That's not Notion. No, it's not. But the same principles apply. You can train it. You can have a conversation with it. It will remember the conversation. You can go back to the conversation. So let's have a look how they've done it. I watched videos that they sent out and said, this is how it works. And I tried it and I thought, no, it's not. So I've had to jiggery-pokery with it to actually make it work. I can't seem to get my version of Raycast to look like their version of Raycast did. It could be that they've updated it already, and these videos are out of date. But it can do stuff, so let's have a look what it can do.
How uses Chibi?
Not heard of that one. Not tried that one. Okay, so we need to see it. So I'm going to bring this on. Oh, I shouldn't be doing that. It jumps and twangs. And then I say bad words about Apple. But I'm going to be using that article shortly. Oh, in fact, if I'm not going to be using it yet, let's just bring it up. So here, this is in Raycast. The key word you need is Ask AI. And when you press enter on that, it will take you through to this window. And then you can ask it things. So that is the interface. Keyword, Ask AI, and then ask it to do something. Now, this is the first time I'm doing this in terms of I don't have multiple chats. But you can have multiple chats and then go back to them. So what I tested, I deleted. Because what I was finding was I was asking it about one thing in chat number 2 and it was looking back at chat number 1. So I have no chats saved in here. So ask Raycast AI something. So it works exactly the same as it would in any other application. So what Mike always tests is the history of Manchester United, isn't it? Right. So let's try write me a, shall we say 500-word article on the history of, don't spell it wrong, hang on. Oh, now I've got the caps lock on, I don't want that either. Manchester United. Should I put football club or is that self-evident? I should probably put football club. Right.
Probably self-evident.
So I've given it a prompt, I then just press enter. And it has a think about it and it starts typing the stuff in there. Oh, it's got the Newton Heath locos correct. John Henry Davies, that's okay, isn't it? I'm not sure about the years. Mike's the expert on the years. 1958, Munich air crash, it's got that right. 1986, Alex Ferguson, no, that's Alice Ferguson. Yeah, I'm thinking of Alice. Alex Ferguson as manager, so that's right. Retired in 2030. This is fairly accurate. This is good. So at this point, you could ask it to expand on that. You could ask it to summarise it. So let's try create a summary of the article listing the main points, and hopefully it knows it's that one. Right, so how long's that going to be? I wanted it in bullet points, but never mind. So it's a shorter version, would have been nice in bullet points. Maybe I should have said bullet points. Right, rewrite the summary in bullet points. Let's see if it manages that. There we go. My fault. I should have been clear, shouldn't I? Treat it like an intern. It's the way to do it. So at this point, it's all very well having a conversation in here, but you probably want to take that out and put it somewhere else. That's where your Command and K comes in. So if you remember back to the Raycast stuff that we did, Command and K is the global shortcut in Raycast to do other stuff. So you can either Command and K, but if you are a mouse person, you can click down here on the actions and it will show it. So enter is just submit. So you're using enter in Raycast to enter your comments to the AI. You'll notice that there is a paste response to Opera in there. Now, the reason that that is there is because Opera is the app that was active when I activated Raycast. Now, because of that, it knows which is the active app. If I had Notion open in there or something, I would be able to paste it in there. I actually have my blog open at the moment, so pasting it in there won't do me any good. But you could copy the response, or you could copy the entire chat with the shortcut keys that you've got. One thing to think about is those shortcut keys. It could be that they clash with something else, because I have multiple clipboard extenders installed that run on something in C. I think I'm okay with those two, to be honest, but just be aware of that. Keep going down. You've then got Ask AI. You can send feedback, generate titles, integrate a response, or start a new chat. Or you can delete the chats. So this is how I deleted the test chats that I had. But for this, I probably want to copy the entire chat. So choosing that and pressing enter, and it says it's copied it to the clipboard. So we need to go find somewhere to stick it. So I'm going to bring this on. This is what I'm going to be using. I'm going to stick it in a new page on here. This is the one I'm going to use tonight with our MacBites account. So I'm going to add a page there. This was the history. Create an empty page and paste it in. So it knows who I am. That's scary, isn't it? And there's the information. So what do you think of that? I'll get a new page. And with this active, so you can see that that is active. I have a flashing cursor. I don't know if this will work or not. We'll find out. So going back into Raycast, and this time on Command and K, I'm going to use this option, the mouse out of the way, this option to paste the response into Opera and see if it works. Awesome. Now you might be wondering why you're pasting that into Notion if you've got AI in Notion. I do have AI in Notion, but not on this account. This is our MacBites demo account. I am not spending another $20 a month to have it in the demo. So when you're making a decision onto which one of these services you're paying for, the integration might be important to you. If you have it in Notion, then you are limited to working in Notion and then copying and pasting it out of Notion. One of Raycast's benefits with the AI is it doesn't matter if I had Pages open or Word open, I could just paste straight into it. You can even read out of it as well. So it's not a one-way thing of just pasting into it. You can copy content from Notion. Technically speaking, from what I've seen, you are supposed to be able to go into it and maybe just highlight a paragraph and work with it. And that's not working for me, but it could be because this browser is Opera and it's not Chrome. It may work better with Chrome. But let's do something better with it. So tomorrow is day 1 of ship 30. Will I get anything out the door? Depends on the box sets and the ice cream, doesn't it, Peter? I'll have a think. But what we're looking at here is day 20 from January. Doesn't look like it's much, does it? But part of the problem is trying to get into something as short as that, which is about 260 words, something like that. A word count would be nice, Notion, just saying. Is trying to get everything into it and not have anything in there that doesn't need to be in there. So this was all about what you were supposed to do when you were placing images into Affinity Publisher. So I thought I'd ask the AI to have a look at it. Let's see what we could do. So one thing would be, you'll see it says title here. Let's say I'm stuck for a title. So I've written it, but I'm stuck for a title. The opening paragraph does give you some indication, though, of what this is about. The more content you have, the more pages you'll need to create, which means you're potentially manually laying out lots of images and text, or even bringing in PDF pages from other applications. And doing it manually takes a long time. So that's a very high level overview of what I'm about to tell you, which is how to do it faster. So, as I said, in Chrome, you may well be able to just highlight that. I actually had to copy it. Then I went into here. Now, I've finished with that. I don't particularly want to keep that. But you can see that it's got at the top what it is. These are my chats today. So I could create a completely new chat. Let's try that, because it didn't work well for me, but let's try it. So what I want it to do is to write 5 titles for this opening paragraph of an article. Right, and then I'm going to paste in what that opening paragraph was, and hopefully it will understand that. Let's see. Oh, it did. So it's given me 5 alternative titles. So streamline your content creation process with these tips, not bad. Maximising efficiency, how to manage large amounts of content, that's not bad either. Stop wasting time, automate your page creation. I think people would probably go for that one. Or possibly 4, 3 or 4. Let me know in the chat. Let me know in the chat. So I'm at the bottom of the chat and I'm not seeing anything. So I'm going to bring that back. Which one do you think, Mike? I think 3 or 4.
Yeah.
People like tips and tricks, and stop wasting your time is a good one as well. So come on, give me a number in the chat. Which one of those? Well, Patience has been trying Notion AI for lesson plans for preschoolers. I think it worked brilliantly when I tried those. It really did well. You could get it to add detail, give you resources. It was amazing what it could do. Right,
Kim says 4.
Kim says 4. We've got Kim saying 4. Right, okay. So I'm not going to copy and paste 4 or anything like that. What I'm going to do... 3 looked like a grabby headline. It did. Yeah, possibly. What you would say about that one is that number 3 could be considered clickbait, but not if you deliver. And I am delivering, telling you how to make it faster. But tips and tricks, that's a good one. So we'll go with 4. Right, we've got more voting for 4. Kim was first, so we'll go with 4. So what I'm looking to do with this is to say choose 4 and expand to a... Now, for this, it's probably around 300 words. Expand to a 300-word article. Let's see how it does with that. There we go. Might actually get something out the door in ship 30, mightn't I? Although that does look more than 300 words. What are you doing? I'm not sure how many it is. Let's have a look.
Deborah's gone for 3.
How accurate's that? Yeah, it's basically rewritten the paragraph that I had. It's got lots of cans and its and mores and doing is not only, so the word only would be considered to be like superfluous. So ship 30 teaches you to take a scalpel to what you've written. I think that's probably a bit on the long side. But what we will do is Command and K it, and we'll copy that response, and we will put that down here at the bottom of there. That was number 3. So let's paste it in. That does look mighty long by comparison to what I did, but there it is. So this is then herring off about collaboration tools and all kinds of stuff. So I wouldn't like to say how accurate that is. Let's take a 3 and have a look at 3. Right, no, hang on. Was that 3 or 4? Oh, I'm losing the plot. That was 4, wasn't it? That was 4. Let's go and get one for 3. So bring it back. Right, now, what's important to recognise here is I've haired off and said choose 4 and expand it. And it has done that. So if I was at the bottom of this, I can go back to things that were said earlier in the chat with the AI. So I can say choose 3 and expand it into a... Should we try 250 words this time? 250 word article. That'll do. That should do it. Oh, it's pick number 2. Why is it pick number 2 when I said pick number 3? You're losing the plot. Right. Okay, I like number 3. We're going with number 3 if it's all the same with you. Right, I like number 3. Please expand this title into a 250 word article. There we go. It's got number 3 this time. And how's that doing? Again, I still think that's a bit long. And it's making up its own stuff as it goes along. However, I have only given it the first paragraph, to be honest. So if I wanted it to be about Affinity Publisher and features in Affinity Publisher, I would have to tell it that. But I don't think that's bad. I don't think that's bad at all. What do you reckon? Pandemonium made me say clickbait. Well, we have a lot of discussion about that in Ship 30 because obviously it's a writing course. A lot of people, when we're talking about titles, so many people say, oh, that's clickbait, it's clickbait. You know, what's the example they give, Carol? How to make $10,000 in the next 2 hours with only your 2 index fingers. Is that clickbait? Yes. Everybody's going to say that's clickbait. But what if they deliver? What if the article gives you a real example that is doable, that just you pecking away at a keyboard with 2 fingers and in 2 hours would get you $10,000? Then it's not clickbait. As long as it's true, it's not clickbait. And anyway, you know, I mean, I do it myself. Oh, that's such a clickbait title. Hold my iPad while I read it. I'll read it anyway. You know, a lot of the time you're disappointed at the end, but I don't think it stops people reading it. That's the one, isn't it, Carol? Yeah, the 2 fingers and $10,000 in 2 hours, I think it is. But, you know, it's so funny when you're in the first session of a cohort and you've got all the newbies in there. You know who the newbies are because the newbies are like, yes, it's clickbait, yes, yes, yes. And then you'll get an odd one coming in with, well, it depends on if you deliver or not. And you think, oh, alumni. I love watching that because the chat goes so fast. Love it. Absolutely love it. So that's what we've got in there. One of the ones I was going to do was in here, wasn't it? Which was this article, right? So I've got this whole article. I have no idea how long this is. One of my classics. But I'm going to copy it, right? Because I need to train the AI. So this one is, I'm not going to go backwards. I'm going to go up here and I'm going to get a new chat. So technically it's now forgotten anything I've told it. That's the idea. So I need to give it an article. So there's a couple of ways of doing that. You could tell it that what follows is an article. So this is a blog post I wrote about app demises. Do you think it would understand demises? Let's try demises. You don't spell it. Oh, yes, you do. Right. Okay, so I'm putting a colon in and I'm putting the whole thing in. Right. So I'm telling it that. It automatically has summarised that. I was going to ask it for a summary. But what I could do is reword the request for a summary, which is summarise this article as a list of key takeaways. Let's try that. There we go. And because I gave it the full article, everything in there is actually bang on point. Okay. So, did you have anything else that you asked it?
No.
No. I have trained it, but I literally only got access to this like a week ago. And my issue now is working out which is the best AI to use for certain things. So one thing that I would ask it maybe is something contemporary, because if it's using ChatGPT or any of the other big language models, their training finished in 2021. But there are other ones that did not finish in 2021. So if I ask it something contemporary, we might get a load of complete waffle. Come on. Let's start a new chat and ask it, write a summary of the Manchester United v Brentford match this week. There you go. Knowledge cut-off date of 2021. Now, that does not actually mean that AI can't do that, because I have tried this and AI very much can do that. And that's what I'm saying about choosing your AI. There are so many models out there and people are like, why are you paying for Notion? Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? Well, the reason I'm paying for Notion is there's only the AI in Notion can make me a Notion table. Obviously, ChatGPT has no idea what Notion's doing, but Notion's AI can build tables, comparative tables, from plain text. But other AI has information bang up to date, so it can tell me contemporary news articles from yesterday. So that's all to do with choosing your AI. But today was looking at Raycast AI. As I say, it's completely free at the moment, but they have said there will be a charge for it. They've just not worked out what or when. To try it, you need an account, a Raycast account. So from within Raycast, you can go to, let's bring that up. This is Raycast preferences. I think there's the account. Right, so on that page, if you don't have an account, you can click the option to create an account and then ask them for access to the AI beta. As I say, completely free. You're not buying into paying for it when it comes out. It just depends how much it's going to be and how they're going to work it. They may provide a free element, but I doubt it. I think this is a way for them to monetize. So there you have it. AI in Raycast. I like it. It's pretty good. I wouldn't say it's any better than any of the others, apart from the United thing was better. Which was the one, was it Notion? No, it was Craft, wasn't it? That was shocking. I was shocking with the United one. That was the worst I've ever seen. Notion did better, and ChatGPT did brilliantly as long as you gave it enough information. But by far the best for that is actually Bard. So we will be revisiting AI in the future. We'll do a comparison of them. And the good grief, there must be about 7 or 8 that I've used at the moment. And there is a case for using all of them. So, have we got any questions on that?
No, not at all.
Right, okay. Carol's waiting for access. They said they were rolling it out over the next few weeks. So, I reckon I got it about 2 days after they announced it. So, I switched these round and now I'm back to doing it that way. But never mind. I was going to do it another way. Shall I do it the other way? No, it'll confuse you, won't it? We'll do it this way. We'll look at the dirty hack first.
I don't mind.
No, it'll confuse you. I switched it round in the running order and then didn't switch the slides round because I'm an idiot. Or shall I just switch them round? Let's look at the wiki verification first. Right, these are new features. They were only rolled out this week. I will admit I have had issues trying to make them work, but I think I can make it work sufficiently that I can show it to you. I think my problem could have been we already have a wiki. We are not starting from scratch. We already have a wiki. We have one big table and it holds in it anything that we would consider to be reference material. So it could be instruction books, it could be a step-by-step workflow. And it doesn't matter whether it's a household thing, whether it's the instructions for the new cooker, or whether it's the bulbs we use, or anything like that. That's household. But it doesn't matter if it's, how to publish a MacBites, how you've got one, haven't you? How to get the chat in Notion. It doesn't matter because we create categories and then create a dashboard for each area. So maybe the way we've built the wiki isn't the way it wants us to build the wiki. And that's why I'm having trouble with our wiki. So I'm going to start from scratch. That's a better way to go. Start from scratch with it. So in Opera again. Oh, hang on. Come out of there. I just want you to be normal now. I don't want you to be writing anything. No, Opera, come on. Right. Here we go. So I've just been in there. I'm going back into here. And it's the wiki. So I have just created a page and I've just added an inline table to it. And as far as I'm concerned, this is my wiki. So these are the 3 blank records that you get. And I'm just going to put in, articles or whatever. So cooker manual. That's one. And what was the others? Bulbs. And we'll have a MacBites publishing thing. Right, MacBites publishing. Right, obviously at the moment there's nothing in there at all. That actually doesn't matter for what's going to happen next. But what you tend to do with a wiki is, now you could use tags or you could actually rename that and call that categories if you wanted. Right, so in here, I'm going to create an option. So that would actually be for the household. This one I can just choose household, and this bottom one, it's either going to be MacBites or it's going to be tech. MacBites is such a big area of what we do. I would probably put that in as MacBites rather than just tech. And we don't want it purple, it's MacBites, so we'll have it orange. Right. So I'm not concerned about the data that goes inside these things. That's of no interest whatsoever as far as I'm concerned. What browser are you and what am I logged in as? Let me have a look over here and share one of these pages. So I am trying to get MacBites open in a page so I can actually show you what it looks like, and then you'll realise why we have such trouble with it. So, come on. Oh, what are you doing? Love it when this happens off screen. Right. Let's do that and that. And there we go. A look behind the scenes at MacBites. So this is our dashboard, our 2.0 dashboard. And down here, where's the mouse pointer gone? Oh, there you are. Right. Down here we have Wiki. So if I go to the Wiki, you'll see this Wiki is inside MacBites 2.0. So the only things that we're seeing in here is how we do something. So what we got here? To check the test feed. So this one actually has all of these meta tags. And down here, this is how we do it. Open iTunes. You can tell that one needs reviewing. That was a while ago. Look at the review date. Yeah, sometimes things that get reviewed as well. But all of these are just items within our MacBites one. So you can see they've either got workflow or reference or design, but they've all got MacBites because this is a pre-filtered view for that. The view that we've got of that is the gallery view. So because each one doesn't have a poster, it's pulling the content in. So, for instance, this one's actually showing you a workflow that looks like it's got a graphic in it. There we go. So I've put these in and then you follow that through. and that's how it's supposed to work. So that's our real wiki, and that's what I've replicated for this one. So I'm getting this one out of the way. And the data that I'd be putting in here is maybe a type. So as well as a category, I might want a type of workflow or what the status is. So it's those kinds of things that I would put in there, with maybe a review date as well as a live date. But that is actually enough to do what I'm about to do. Right, the one thing that's missing in this at the moment, it doesn't tell you who owns it, who created it, who's in charge of this. You may want to add that as well. But doesn't really matter. Your wiki could be as basic as you like. Up in the 3 dots in the top right hand corner is the new feature to turn into a wiki. Now you may be thinking, like I was thinking with it, well, why a wiki? You know, why not anything else that you may have? I think it's to showcase the next feature. So I can't turn this into like a contact database, but I can turn it into a wiki. And that does things to it. So as I turn it into a wiki, you can see you get this welcome to your new wiki with a view at the top that says home. Viewers will have the same reading experience as before, but editors have new features to keep content up to date. So that's the key thing. Anybody using this will see that. But if you own it and you go up to the home, you have access to all pages. This is what bugged me with it. It went blank. But it does talk you through what it's done, which is I didn't create this owner field. Turning it into a wiki created that. And owners are responsible for keeping the pages updated, and by default the owner is the page creator. The next thing it's done is add a new field type of verification. So page owners can mark a page as verified or expired, and that helps people know whether they can trust the content. So rather than looking at the review date and seeing it's 12 months out of date, this you can set for any length of time you like. So if you create a process and you think, I want to revisit that in 10 months, you could set it for that. And then it will automatically go from verified to not verified after 10 months. So if somebody is seeking to rely on it in a business, they would then ping the person who owns the page. You have this at work, don't you? Things that you own that need updating. So it's something that people have been building in themselves into the wiki in Notion. And now it's just that Notion have created you a standard way to do this. And the next thing it has done, we got tags and more. Well, we've already created tags, but if you remember, we changed the name to categories. So now we've got tags back. And then you click done. It's also now showing you the last edited time. So if I go back into home and I can see them, the issue I've got with this is if I own all of these, how do I tell it I own all of these? I think I would add a property that was the person, and I would add the person as being MacBites because this is a demo account and it's MacBites. And that puts it there. So all of these would be owned by MacBites because there's only one person in the thing. So there's the person. Right, but if I go back to here and all pages and stuff, you see I'm not seeing it. And I'm grumpy about that. I really am not sure what on there. I think I should be seeing stuff and I'm not. I guess I'm going to have to do it in here. But I don't understand why I've got no access to the other pages so I can claim them as an owner. It seems ridiculous to me. But we'll make a new one. What else do we do, Mike? Network settings. Yeah. As I was thinking the other day, where are the network settings, I thought, as I may need to rejig everything with Virgin. And terrifyingly, I recalled exactly where they were. They were in a paper notebook somewhere. I've no idea which one, and I've no idea where all the notebooks are. So that was frightening. So that should be in here. Right, let's say that I've put some information in. So in here, I could either use a template to create it, or I could copy and paste my information in. So we'll put in Virgin Network, and then we'll all laugh, won't we? Right, so I've got some information in there. If that information is complete and correct, This is where you then go in and you can verify that information. So you can either say indefinitely, which I wouldn't choose. No, at least try it. I'd hope it would last more than 7 days and more than 30. So 90 days would give us like 3 months. I would think, to be honest, with that, I'm looking at 6 months looking at it. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, and it'll be October. Right, where are we? We're the 7th, aren't we? So I'll put it on the 7th. So it's not only telling people that it's verified, it's telling them it's verified until a certain date. You can change your mind. You can choose indefinitely if you want, and then you just see verified. Anybody else think it looks like Twitter verification? Because I do. So that's what it looks like if it's indefinitely. And if you've got these, then it shows you the actual date. So make that a bit wider and you can see the actual date, whichever one you choose. So it's allowing you to take a table, turn it into a wiki, including all the stuff you already have in your wiki, and then adding the ability to allow owners of the page and verify it with the verified field. I wish that verified field was available as a standard field. I think that would be really nice. But it's only available in a wiki. So what do you think? I think it could do with something, I'll be honest. I think it still needs work myself. And I'm going to have to look at how we've designed and structured our wiki to see if it will actually cope, or whether I'm going to need to do building work with it, which doesn't appeal, I'll be honest. But I built that manually, so I didn't call it verification. I didn't even have it as like verified, and it was a checkbox. I must admit that with its date and the verification, and I think the blue tick is something people inherently understand. In one field is great, but you're only going to be able to do that if you actually turn it into a wiki. And my problem was assigning the pages to the right people. So more research needed on that, I think. But what do you think? Let me know. Is everybody very quiet with that? It's looking like it. Right, we will be returning in here. So I'll whip out to there. Ignore that first one, Mike. Nothing happened, nothing to see. Right, well, I get the right... where's my mouse? Don't go flying across there. Right, so last week we looked at buttons, which was their other new feature. And I found a problem with the buttons. I couldn't believe it was a problem only I had with the buttons, but there you go. Maybe I am. Maybe I'm just strange. Don't all agree at once. So what I needed was a way to use the new buttons, because they certainly had advantages, but do it in a way that I didn't lose any features from what I was already using. So that was my idea. I must admit, my first look at it, I was like, it's just not going to do it. And then live last week, as I was talking about it, an idea sprang into my head. And happy to report it did actually work. So I'll show you what I did. Okay, so we have buttons dirty hack. So just to get you up to speed with what we did last week, you can add a button like show comms. And behind that button, what I've told it to do is add a page to the comms table called 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5. So it will add the equivalent of these for this show for another show. Okay, that was what I wanted it to do. The problem with it, as far as I was concerned, what you're doing with this command of add a page is adding a page to a database. So it allows you to set the metadata, anything above the fold. So I set the name, which was mail, and I've got a list I can choose from for the list it's going to. So is it going to my list or is it going to MacBites? And I've got a status, which, why does that say date? Oh, that's the only one that's left. That's right. So with that, I've got my 3 properties. Right. If I were to say edit another property, I would have the only property left that's in that table, which is date. Here's the first limitation. I can't say from a certain date. I guess I could say today, but not all of these mails would be being sent today. There is a dirty hack workaround for that that's even dirtier than most of my dirty hacks. You need to put an extra field in and then do some calculations, so we'll leave it alone. It's not easy. Of more significance to me is there is no option in here. If we go in there, you can move it down, you can add it above, you can duplicate it. But what you can't do is choose a template. And if I can't choose a template, all of the pages that get added have no content below the fold. Absolutely useless for me. Useless. The second thing that was a major calamity was there's no way in here to choose an icon for the item that you're creating. Now, an icon can come from a template. So providing me the ability to choose a template would solve both problems. But there are two problems as far as I'm concerned. But that's the button that we used. And if you push the button, boom, you get 5 new mails. Now, if these 5 new mails could have content below the fold and an icon, I would be a very happy bunny. So that was the situation. That's where we were. Creating the dates in here, that's just something you would have to do, because other than that, you've got a heck of a job on your hands with a load of code. So let's try and fix that. Right, the way I did it, and I actually did it for real, which I can show you. Where's that other page gone? So in the MacBites one, I will go to... shall we do next week's show? Can I show you it from next week's show? Is it in next week's show? Where did I put it? Let's have a look. Did both, so I can show you. Right, so this is all the stuff I have to do before the show. If I move down to here, this is the comms bar. Yes, I know it's pink. Right, if I open up the comms bar, you will see that there are comms in there. Forget that. What we're looking at is the old way of doing it, which is this green bar, or the new way of doing it, which is the button. So the old way of doing it had all these mails in it. No, it had this button in it. This was the old button. This was the old template button. So if I click that, it will add mails. It just won't add them to the table. But when I drag and drop them into the table, they will have a template and they will have an icon. So if I click that, you will actually see that happen. So I showed you this last week. It takes you into the first one, then you need to go back. And then you need to move down again, and there are your pages. But you can see they've already got an icon. If I go into, I think it's that one, there's even a below the fold. Right, so a template has been applied. That is what you cannot do with this new thing that they've added. So, right, I will show you. This table at the moment doesn't have any templates for creating the mails. So if I go in there, there are no templates. But if I create a template, so what I'll do is I will open up that one from MacBites. And I will copy and paste the below the fold. You're going to let me? Oh, you've copied the whole thing. Right, that's better. So I'm doing this to create something below the fold. Oh, that worked well, didn't it? What are you doing? Come on. Copy. Why aren't you just copying it? It doesn't actually matter, but that's not the point, is it? Let's try again. Come on. There we go, that'll do. Right, let's get rid of that. So we have something below the fold. The other thing I'm going to do with this is add an icon. So we'll add one of our mail icons, which we chose that one. And I think we chose orange, didn't we? But just to prove it's different, I'm going to choose green for the template. Right, it's a good idea to give the template a name. So we could call this standard mail or whatever. We will call it mail, new mail. And we are done with that. We have a template. We've got the icon, we've got the below the fold. We could put some stuff in here. So if this one was going to MacBites, then I could preset the information in here. And if I'm creating it, will these set to not started? Right, so I've got my icon, I've got the below the fold, and I've got 2 elements of metadata. And I could have 22 elements of metadata, it really wouldn't matter. So I now have a template. Right. Here's what I need to do if I'm going to add the comms. So first thing I need to do is to make a new mail. And then I need to give it a name. So what mail it? So normally for a show, we would have we'd have an announcement, a reminder, and then multiple socials. So if we put in here that this is after hours and then a number. All right, but I would need to tell it what it was. So let's say that's an announcement. And that will do me. Right, so that is in the table here. I would do exactly the same thing again. So go on to new and apply the new mail template. And it's put all of that in there. That's absolutely fine. The only difference I'm going to do up here is I am going to put that it's after hours and we don't know what show number it is yet, but this time it's the reminder. And again, that's it. So remember what I've got in these 2 that I don't have in these 5. I've got the below the fold from a template, and I've got an icon, and I've got the metadata. So how do I get all of that in this button? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create another button. So I don't can I? No, you can put the buttons side by side, but not in the same block, I don't think. So I will bring that block up and I'll put it in here. So button and a new button. Now, do I want to insert blocks? It's possible. But really, I want to add a page too, don't I? But that won't work. Edit pages already in a database, that won't work either. Show confirmation is an admin thing, as is opening a page, really. So the only thing that's going to work is to insert a block. Right, but we have a block to insert, have we? We look here. So what I'm going to do is, when you pull something out of a database, it retains its below the fold, it retains its icon, and it retains its metadata. So if I pull these out of here and pop them at the bottom, they disappear from this table, but because everything is a block, everything is a page, I can open these up and you can see all the information is still there. You can't see the metadata, but it's not been deleted. It is hidden inside that. In fact, if you drag these 2 things into another table, it would acquire a second set of metadata, completely separate from the first. And if you added it to a third table, you get a third set of metadata, and you can move these things from table to table, and the metadata for each table will then magically appear. But what we're after is the button here. Button's got no actions. I know. Just a minute. Right. If I say I want you to insert blocks, it says click to edit or drop the blocks in there. So if I wanted to put something like a heading, I could just do a heading 1 and then type some text. So you can actually type into here, but we don't want to do that. Right, what I want to do is to take these 2 mails. No, come on, don't get stuck. Don't want 3, want 2. All right, got those 2. And I want to drag those 2 up to there. Looks like that's got a top thing on it as well. Right, let's get rid of that. So I want to add that block and that block when you push the button. So this one is going to be clever button, because this one's got all the information in it that I want, because I've already created it in there. Right. So all I need to do is to hit the clever button. That does exactly what the other one used to do, including taking me into it. So it's added my 2 pages back here. I have to do one extra step, which is I need to select these and I then need to drag them into the table. But it means that when I open it, I've got my below the fold, I've got my metadata, and I've got my icon. It's a dirty hack, I know. The thing that bugs me is I've still got to drag them in, but I'm no worse off than I was before, to be honest. I'm no better off either, apart from the fact that the button does look better and I'm less likely to hit it inadvertently, because that is something that I have done frequently and bad words are said. So let me show you how that happens. In here, that's why it's hidden away. So in here I have two things that I do with this. Let me have a look. Where's the other one? Oh, the content items. The content items. So if we look at the content items, add standard show sections. But you can see the problem with this is, although they're saying it's a button, they always called it a template button. If I were to click there, it's active. It's the full width. It's a pain. So instead of having this button just under the content items, I hid it in a toggle. So when I've used it, I toggle it off. And I do exactly the same with the comms up here. So my standard after hour comms are hidden underneath there. These are what we've just added. So normally they're not there. It looks like that, but if I hit this anywhere, it will generate these, and I can't tell you the number of times that I've done that. So I put it in a toggle. At least I don't need it in a toggle anymore. So I can use the nice shiny new buttons, and I can have my icon, and I can have my below the fold. I'm sure they'll fix it properly at some point. If we shame them enough, they will. So do we have any questions about that?
No.
I know Kim was using it a lot, she said. Kim says that she does love her templates. She's loving the dirty hack. Really, that is much. It's the benefit of doing it. I mean, you've still got to drag and drop them in. So from that perspective, it's identical to what I already had. But I am using the new method, and if you've got to click the button area for it to happen, which means I'm not going to inadvertently click it a million times. As I said, you can pop these buttons next to each other somehow. Did you just go there then? You did, didn't you? You would have to set, I mean, that looks ludicrous, but you can narrow it down. And that's a bit too far, isn't it? Because we can't now see clever buttons. Yeah, it's not perfect. I would love the ability to add these in a way, but that you've not got the huge gap between them, and colour code them and things like that. I did colour code one, I'm sure. But that doesn't seem to be an option. Maybe I put it inside something. But there you go. Dirty hack. So I have been able to retire the old way. No, I didn't delete it. And I recommend if you're updating yours, don't delete yours either. What I did was I just dragged them onto another page. So if I had the old style template going all the way across, I dragged and dropped it onto an archive page and just left it there. And if I ever have to go back to it or whatever, it's there for me. So there you go. Hello, Simon. Trying to work out that avatar thing, emoji. Right, okay. So, handing over to the other guy.
Is it me?
It's you. So, no, it's all right. You're all right at the moment because I need to move on. Do you want to explain what PowerToys are?
I will, as part of my demo.
Oh, not over the slide then.
No.
PowerToys are cool. If you're a Windows user, you are going to love this. Trust me. Right, so let's make sure they can see your screen, not mine. And I've got 5 million windows up here. So I can see something that looks like that.
Good.
Excellent. Right, let's hand over to Mike.
Shall I start?
Yes.
Right, PowerToys. I'll introduce myself because we might have some new people.
Who's he?
who've never heard me present.
Yeah, might think it's the dog or a robot.
Yeah. Right, PowerToys. PowerToys
You're supposed to be introducing yourself then.
I don't think I really need to introduce myself.
On.
Right, my name's Mike and I'm a trainer and I normally do Excel and Power BI stuff. That's probably why Simon's popped in. But today I'm going to talk about PowerToys. So
Have you pressed record?
I did press record.
Oh, excellent.
Yes.
Because I'm just thinking I'm not recording this.
Really?
How can I record your screen?
No, I thought you meant you weren't recording any of it.
What did I say before we started? Let's have a domestic live. What did I say? What were my last words before I said microphones live?
I was busy prepping.
I pressed record, I said.
Right.
But never mind, I was obviously ignored.
I was busy prepping. Right, PowerToys. PowerToys are a set of free utilities from Microsoft which lets you add functionality to Windows. PowerToys actually first came out in Windows 95. Do you remember them in Windows 95?
Oh, yeah, they were amazing.
Tweak UI or Tweak UI was the...
Yeah, Tweak UI.
Tweak UI. Yeah.
Wasn't there a thing called God Mode?
God Mode?
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
Oh, there was a God Mode. Turns you into an Adonis. No, seriously, there was a God Mode.
Don't remember that one.
It was like it turned your Windows thing into a Mac thing where you could do what you like. But then of course Timmy came along and God Mode died.
Oh, okay then.
I don't know if it's still there on Windows.
Well, that was Windows 95. The current version was released in May 2019, and that's available for Windows 10 and also Windows 11. So what you can do is you can go to this link here. The link is in the show notes if you want to paste it into.
Oh, good grief! I've got work to do.
You don't have to. I can
It's fine,
paste
I'll
it
do
later.
it.
Okay. So you can download it from here. You can also download it from GitHub. And once you've downloaded it, so I've already obviously downloaded it. I'll just minimize that. You can just run it by just hitting the start button and typing PowerToys, and it does say PowerToys preview, but I don't think it is a preview mode. Well, it probably is because it's version 0 point something. They haven't actually reached version 1 yet, despite the fact it's been around for nearly 3 years. So if you actually run it, what it does is it takes you to like a PowerToys settings. So these are all the PowerToys here. I'm not actually going to go through all of them today. I've just picked a few of them to go through. And you can click on each one of these PowerToys and it shows you the settings panel, if you like, for that particular PowerToy. So I will be showing you some of the PowerToys, but this is where you go if you want to configure them. You just run PowerToys, takes you into here, and then you just go to the appropriate PowerToy, and all the settings, all the configuration for that toy are here. So I'll minimize that one. Okay, so the first one I'm going to show you is PowerToys Run, which is a launcher. And this is the one that I like because this is the one where I was forever in Windows doing Command Space or Alt Space or whatever.
Talk to the microphone.
I was talking to the microphone. Yeah, this is the one where I was forever in Windows doing Alt and Space or Command Space, thinking that it would bring up Quicksilver or whatever we were using at the time for the launcher.
Alfred Raycast.
Yeah, well,
Launch bar.
no, I think by the time we got to the newer apps, I'd actually stopped using it on my Windows machine. But anyway, if I do Option, well, it's Alt, and I'm using a Mac keyboard, but it's Alt. If I use Alt Spacebar, look what happens. That's just like Raycast, isn't it? And just like Alfred. So I can then start typing. You can reconfigure this, so you can change the keyboard shortcut, but I've left it as the default, which is Alt and Spacebar. If I then start typing Excel, it brings up various options. So I can run Excel, I can search the web, I can open up this. It thinks it's a URL, so I can open that up. But I can also scroll through and it brings me back a list of any files or any folders that have got Excel in the title. There's also some, if I scroll back to the top there, there's also some buttons here. So I can run it as an administrator, I can run it as a different user, I can open the containing folder. So if I click that, that in this case is the folder that's got the excel.exe in it. And I can also, has this crashed on me?
Oh, now it's not a good time if it
That
has.
is not good, is it?
What have you
Oh,
done?
no, it's not. It's just gone slow. That was not good. I can also copy the path. So if I just copy the path... Oh, no, hang on. That was the wrong one. I'll do that again. Copy path isn't in this one because this is an exe file. But it does open up the path into the DOS prompt. I'll do that again. But this time what I will do is I will search for ice cream. And there is a file, ice cream dashboard. And again, I can open the containing folder. So that's the folder that file is in. That's the one I was after, copy path. You can only copy path with actual files. So if I copy that path and I go into Notepad and I paste, there is the path to that file, including the file itself. What else can it do? Let's just close this down.
Just before you carry on,
Yeah.
Sarah's asked, what are PowerToys? So I've said they're small utilities. If you want to just clarify.
There is a set of small utilities for Windows. They're free. You can get them from the link that Elaine posted earlier in the chat. You just install them from that link. And there's about 20 of them. I'm just showing you a handful of them tonight. And they let you basically expand the functionality of Windows. Some of the stuff that's in there is actually quite similar to the Mac. So I think I would say they've stolen the idea from the Mac, but seeing as the PowerToys have actually been around since 1999, maybe not. Or it was before 1999, it was 1995. They updated them in 1999 and then
I think in 95, when they brought them out, it was things that they would have liked to have added to 95 that weren't really ready for prime time.
Yeah.
Because that was that Chicago or Seattle?
I think that was Chicago.
I don't know if that was NT4.
Or was that NT? No, that was NT4,
NT,
you're right. Yeah.
Can't remember no, I can't remember. But they left it up to you to decide whether to install it, and they had the benefit of saying it's in beta.
Yeah.
So if it crashed and burned, that was why.
Yeah. So let me carry on. Again, if I bring up the launcher, it does do calculator stuff. So I could do, 2 plus 2, and it gives me 4, and it lets me copy that to clipboard. So a fair bit of this stuff is the stuff that we're familiar with from the Mac. You can also type in a closing bracket and it will bring up the current date, the current time, the current date and time. And again, you can copy one of those to the clipboard if you want to. You can also do conversion. So I can type %, 100 centimeters in feet. And it does a conversion for me, and then you can copy that to the clipboard. I was discussing this with you yesterday, and I know now why it didn't work. The time zone thing. You could type in an ampersand, and then you could type in a location, and it would tell you the time in that location. And they stripped that feature out, so it's no longer there.
That sounds like the trouble I've been having with most of my tech this week.
So yes, so that's the first of the PowerToys is the launcher, which I think is pretty useful. The next thing I'll show you is always on top. So let's say, just for example, I'm going to run sticky notes. Okay, so let's run the sticky notes app. Sticky note, and I'm going to run Excel. Maximize it. And let's say I'm putting something in my sticky note and then I click on the Excel window. The problem there is the sticky note has gone to the back. So what I want to do is I want to make the sticky note be on top. And I can do that using the keyboard shortcut key Windows, Control and T. And it puts a blue border around the active window. and that window will now remain on top. So I can click on the Excel window in the background and this remains on top. I can move this around, but I can still click on Excel in the background and that just remains on top. You can customize the border color, you can customize the thickness as well, but no matter where I click in Excel, that remains on top. If I go back to my browser, I don't want that full size. I can do the same thing with that as well. Control, Command and T, or Windows, Control and T should I say, and that is also on top. So now you've actually got two windows that can stay on the top. So again, I can click on anywhere in Excel and this remains on top and this remains on top. If you want to remove the on top from a window, you do the same thing. Windows, Control and T on that window. Window, Control and T on that window. So that's the always on top, which again is pretty useful if you want to keep a particular window on top as you're working on another window. Sarah says on top is useful. It certainly is. Peter says, I had an image resizer on an older Windows. Yeah, there is an image resizer on here, which I'm going to show you. Okay, next thing to show you is text extractor, which is very much, what was it called? The one that we looked at last week? Text Sniper.
Oh, Text Sniper, yeah.
Yeah, okay, so...
That was what got me involved in the PowerToys. Because I mentioned it and I found that it did it. And then I said, can we find these things? Because weren't they available from the Microsoft Store?
Yeah.
And I thought, if that does what Text Sniper does, I'll share it with the Second Brain crew. And it did, and they were very excited.
So one of the jobs I do on a Saturday is I put all the timings into Notion, so that we can then send out the emails with the timings and we can update the descriptions on the YouTube video. So what I've done is I've taken a screenshot. This was last week's. I've taken a screenshot of the slide, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to press Windows Shift and T, and what that does is it gives me a little cursor. And I can draw around that and it copies that to the clipboard. So if I go into Notepad and I paste, there it is. So it's very much like Text Sniper, and we also discussed that Snagit does it as well.
Slowly, yes.
So that's one use of it. Another use, you'll like this one, is the good old blue screen of death. So
Tim's asked a very interesting question. Does Mac have on-top feature?
Does Mac have on-top feature? I don't know.
Not generally, no. It has to be built in to the app. It's something when I switched, I really missed that. We were using, what was that app called that hooked into the file save dialog? Like Default Folder.
I was going to say Default Folder.
It was based on Default Folder.
I can't remember.
Was it something pane extender? File pane extender?
It could be. I can't remember.
And that it added a little push button to every window. But no, the Mac doesn't have that. But apps like the iTV and Drafts have an on-top option. So you have to check on an app-by-app basis. It's a pain in the neck.
So let's imagine that you've turned your Windows machine on and you've got the blue screen of death. So what you've done is you've taken a photograph, because obviously you can't take a screenshot of a blue screen of death because you're not actually in Windows at that point. So you've taken a photograph of the blue screen of death and you're going to send it to your IT help desk. But then you have the bright idea of sending the photo to your colleague and asking your colleague not to send the photo to the help desk, but sending the text to the help desk. So that's where the text extractor can come in again. So again, I will press Windows Shift and T, and I have just done that on the wrong screen, so I'll go back to Windows and do it again. I just did that on the Mac. So let's try it again, shall we? Windows, Shift and T. That's better. Then you can draw around the text. This, of course, remember, is a photograph. And then if I go to Notepad again and paste in there we go. It's not quite 100%, but it's not bad. You know, we probably said with Text Sniper to just check the text, because it's not always going to be 100%. The last one was. This one isn't. I'm guessing it's to do with the font that's being used. But the key thing there is that error code is okay, and that's what the techies are going to want. So that is nearly said. That is Text Sniper. That is Text Extractor. Very, very similar to Text Sniper. The next thing I will show you is Image Resizer. So I have some images in here. You saw these images last week. They are of the robots. So what I'm going to do is select those images. You can do it on one image, you can do it on a bunch of images. Right click and go to resize pictures. It doesn't work, by the way, on all formats. I had to manually change these from HEIC, which is the native format on the phone, to JPEGs. Obviously Windows doesn't recognize HEIC. But if you go to resize, what you can do is you can choose what size you want the images to be. You've got various presets here, and you've got various options here as well. What you can also do is you can go into the PowerToys setup, and because I've got PowerToys running, I've got the little icon down the bottom there. I can go to Image Resizer here, and I can create a new size. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click Add New Size, and put it down at the bottom here. It's just using the default size. Click on the Edit button. Give it a name. I'm going to call it For the Blog. And I'm going to change its size to be 1200 wide by what have I got? 1600 tall. You know what is missing from here is an option to keep the ratio. So if you type in 1200, it would automatically set the height. So there is a discussion on GitHub, so maybe they'll implement that in the future. But no, it's a manual process here. So what I've done is I've just basically created my own preset. Minimize that, and then again, if I select those, right click, go to Resize Pictures, choose For the Blog, and click Resize. What it's done is it's kept the originals there, but it's actually resized the images, so 1200 by 1600, 1200 by 1600, and just added in to the file name the name of the preset. So Peter, you said you had an image resizer on an older version of Windows. I don't remember an image sizer on Windows. So was it similar to that? I'm sure it was.
Don't remember it being built in.
No, I don't.
But there was some Windows utilities that were free that were great. Do you remember that thing that looked like a picnic cloth?
Yeah.
And it allowed you to record streaming in the days before Audio Hijack.
I do remember.
So when I moved to a Mac and I found Audio Hijack, it was like, wow. But that wasn't bad on Windows. It was the only thing that would do it.
Yeah. I'm just seeing what Peter said. It's a bit weird with HEIC. If you upload from your phone, it won't recognise it. But if you copy the files to a PC, it converts them to JPEG. It didn't do with me.
Depends how you do it.
Yeah, I guess it does.
It does the same with video.
Yeah.
It will convert it.
True.
Depending on how you transfer it.
True.
So if you're transferring it wirelessly, you get a different outcome than if you're doing it via a cable.
Yes, we had that problem, didn't we? Mm-hmm. A few years back. Next one I'll show you is the colour picker. Now, the default is Windows Shift and C. But of course I had Snagit running, and that's my default setting. So I changed it to Alt Shift and C. So if I press Alt Shift and C, what it will do, wherever the mouse pointer is, it will pick up the colour. And as you move your mouse pointer over different things, it will show you the colour of what you've got your mouse pointer over. So I will hover over the screen of this PC and I will click. And what that will do is that will bring up the colour picker. Down the left hand side, it shows you a history of, I think it shows you up to 20 different colours you've selected. And it will show you the colour that you've selected in various different formats: hex format, RGB format, HSL format. And you can copy any of those codes to the clipboard. What it also does is it gives you the ability to fine-tune the colour that you've picked or get a similar colour. So it actually suggests 2 lighter and 2 darker shades of the currently selected colour. And then selecting any of those alternates will add that selection to the history. So if I decide, well, the colour I want, which was the colour of that screen, wasn't quite the one it picked, I'll go for this slightly darker one. I'll click it and it adds it to this history. What I'll then do is I'll again do the Alt Shift and C. It doesn't just pick up from your desktop. You know, I could run Excel or anything and I could pick up a colour from there. But if I pick up the colour from that briefcase on my webinar stats icon, you can see actually it's made up from different colours. So if I just pick one, that has now gone to the top of the history panel. So it's very useful that you can go back through the history of selected colours. And then, as I say, if you click on one of these, it will copy that to the clipboard and you can use it wherever you want to use it. So yeah, the colour picker is great. And it's actually very timely, that, because my YouTube video this week is about using the built-in Mac colour picker in Excel, which is something you can't do on Windows because Excel for Windows doesn't have the built-in colour picker, which PowerPoint for Windows does.
And there's a lovely behind-the-scenes story about that video, isn't there, Mike?
There is. Do you want to tell it?
You tell it.
Or are we leaving it?
You tell it.
Shall I tell it? Okay. Well, if I go into...
Oh, don't do it now.
Oh, you don't want us to do it now?
No, because it might not.
Oh, it should crash. It should crash because I haven't updated.
There he goes with the punchline before the story.
Or maybe not. We'll see now. We'll see now, won't we?
Well, will it crash parallels?
No, it shouldn't crash parallels. Right. If I click on anything that's got a colour in it, and I add a colour to the to here, and I drag that onto the palette over here, it crashes Excel. It's still doing it.
Which is a swine when you're trying to record it in a demonstration. So what did I suggest?
You suggested that we do it on your Mac and then I edit it in.
Yeah. Because Mike was trying to edit out the crashes. I said, forget it. You know, it's working on mine. So we set my screen to the same size as Mike's. We recorded it. Now all he's got to do is piece the voice over the action. And the action was me, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I shall require an appearance fee for this.
The weird thing was that both my Macs were crashing and your Mac wasn't, and they've got exactly the same version
of... My Mac wouldn't dare. It knows my mood, and True. I wasn't in a good one, was I? I had no internet.
Okay, what's Jammy saying?
Oh, I've sorted Jammy.
Oh, you sorted Jammy. Yeah, I'm using Parallels only because it was easier. Yeah, so that was the colour picker. The last one I will show you is Power Rename. So I'm going to go into this folder here. I'm going to select all of those files there. I'm going to right click and choose Power Rename. And I'm going to search for IMG, because all the files have their names starting with IMG. So I'll search for IMG, and I'm going to replace with, and I need to type this in, dollar. In fact, I don't need to type it in because I've done it before. So it keeps a history of the things you've done. But $YYYY is the year, $MM is the month, and $DD is the day. And then underscore robot underscore. So if I select that, it just saves me typing it in. And over here, you can actually see that what it's going to do is it's going to rename those files using the original created date, underscore robot, because they're all the photos of the robot, underscore, and then it's keeping the original name, the original end of the name. But what I will do down here is click this button here, which allows you to add sequential numbers on. So it's a bit like Better Find a Renamer, or what's the other one called? Name Mangler. You can also do other things. You can capitalize each letter. You can put it in title case. You can put it all in capitals. It also supports regex, which I'm not going to go into, but I'll leave
We've been asked, and I will do a 101 shortly.
So once you click apply, it then renames them. So that's not all of the PowerToys, but those are a selection of the useful PowerToys that, as I said, are utilities that are built into Windows that do things that Windows itself does not do. Interestingly, they are from Microsoft, so why Microsoft haven't just added them into Windows itself, I don't know.
Possibly the reasons Apple give for taking stuff away, that they don't want to confuse users, which means we're all being dumbed down. We'll only have one button in the end.
Yeah.
But that's my beef, isn't it, with them? Probably they don't want to support them.
Yeah, that's true.
Because people may have issues with it, and then they're taking time and money
support
in terms of support. Yeah. So they've just turned them out as unsupported, and they're good to go, aren't they?
So there we go. I hope you found that useful. If anybody has any questions, stick them in the chat. And there we go. Patience has got a question. Mm-hmm. Speaking of renaming files, which reasonably priced app would you recommend?
I'm not sure about the price difference between a Better Find a Renamer or FileMangler. Either of them are excellent, and one of them is in setup. You just check what's in setup and I'll find the price. The reason that I don't know the price is I got a lifetime license ages ago. So I've no idea how much that would cost. Why are you doing this when you shouldn't be doing this? Better Find a Rename. Let's try that, shall we?
Johnny should be able to tell us what's in setup.
He's in bed asleep by now.
What is it? File Mangler, Name Mangler.
Name Mangler. Right, how much is this one? Blah, 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 blah. Oh, there's lots of what to do. Web store. Right, let's have a look. Single user. Oh, €29.99, which is about, that's it was $8.50 for that hot dog, wasn't it? So I would reckon around £25 or $33. I went, as I say, for the forever upgrade, and then I just don't need to think about it. And it's also as many installations as you want for an individual user. So I'll put
I can't see either of them in setup.
Oh, I thought one was in setup. Tell me if that comes through and is clickable. Does that link work? I use a Better Find a Rename more than I use Name Mangler. That's nothing against Name Mangler. That was my number one for years and years. The only reason that I do that is I like the way that I can keep presets, because I use presets every week. Right. So shall we come away from your computer?
Yeah.
Lest they see your messy desktop and all have a fit.
It's not messy.
No, of course.
It's very tidy.
It's tidier than I've seen it, put it like that. Right, you need to go get the link for this next one. This is the freebies. Apparently, this guy makes wallpapers frequently. I would have thought he did it for Apple events, and we haven't had an Apple event yet, have we? No. So just reminding Apple, no Apple event yet. But this is his latest wallpaper, and I think it's kind of cute. So wouldn't that look amazing? It's available for all devices. It's not just Macs. So iPads, iPhones, you name it. And you can get it from the Basic Apple Guy. Don't know who Basic Apple Guy is, but Basic Apple Guy. And that is the link over there as well. So, have you got any questions to answer before I carry on?
I don't think so, no.
Doesn't look like it. If you are doing that a lot, Patience, I'd probably go for that one and get the lifetime license. But I will say, the Name Mangler guys, I don't think Name Mangler's that expensive. And when I've had support requests that I've sent in, they have been fantastic. They get back to me within like a couple of hours. So the support on the other one is good. The reason that I've got the two is to do different types of name things. So one is easier with regex that I find. I think there's an advanced mode and you can go into regex with it. But it's hard to choose between them, put it like that. Right, so why aren't you moving? You're playing with my mind again. Right, you're moving now. Excellent. Okay, so after last week, I am at some point, because I know Jammy's asked this, going to get onto Obsidian for mobile when we've finally worn out everything on the desktop, which looks like it could be going on till it's Christmas again. But I was asked specifically about how I got colour into my notes. And there are two ways that you can change how your Obsidian looks. The first way is like the sledgehammer to crack a nut, which is apply a theme to it. The second way is CSS, which is just tweaking it slightly. I use the built-in default theme. The reason that I use the light theme, because the default on Obsidian is dark, but the reason that I use the light one is purely the callouts. I think the callouts look better in the light version. So I was using the dark version of Obsidian until the callouts came out, and then I switched to the light version. So why are you still not moving? You're playing with my mind. So I was using Obsidian at the same time I was using Rome. And I loved the way Rome worked with the indenting and the fact it's an outliner. But everything had to be done manually to change the look of it. And no matter how much I did that, and you can do amazing things, Rome Book Club did amazing things with it, it always felt like clunky. So when I started looking at Obsidian, I was getting over the fact it wasn't an outliner and all my text was black. And at that point, the only option I had was size to indicate the importance of a heading. Until I thought, right, I'm going to look up what you do with the CSS. Because while I could have got a theme and it could have looked amazing, there was no guarantee that that theme would be compatible with future versions of Obsidian. So a point update could break it. And that did happen for a lot of people when they released the official version 1, because there was a lot of changes to it. So tweaking the CSS, while it's a little bit more meta, you've got to know where the file is, go in and edit it and understand CSS. If you can get some CSS that looks like you want it to look, then you're good to go. And editing CSS isn't actually as difficult as you would think. So the first thing that we're going to look at is themes and CSS. So somewhere I've got my demo file, which has been flying around. Let's take you, shall we? You the demo one. You are the demo vault. Right. So this is my demo vault. I have updated it a few hours ago. Hopefully there's no more updates. No, it's fine. Right. So this is what the default looks like. If you go into your preferences, you do have a few options that you've got where you've got use base color scheme. And in there you've got light or dark, or you can adapt to your system. You also have in here an accent colour. So you can see that mine is set to purple at the moment. But you can change that to whatever you like. As I say, I just leave it alone. You know, the icon for Obsidian's purple. If it's purple, I'm fine with that. But if you want to tweak that accent colour, if purple, I know people, and I'm one of them, you know, Evernote green. Oh, I don't want to look at it. So if you just object to purple, then that's the easiest way to tweak anything, is to just change the accent colour and you're done. Beyond that, you then have themes. So the third one down is themes. You can see mine is set to default, but I do have a few themes installed. So one of the themes is called Minimal, which is written by the guy who is now the CEO, I do believe. There's one called Things, which replicates the Things app. And this Atom, which used to be very popular, you can see its legacy, because I think they then changed it when they changed the structure of it. But themes enable you to change the look and feel of the thing completely. So you see I've got 3 community themes installed. Those are the ones that you see in there, Minimal, Things and Atom. You can check for updates to those. You can see that there are updates. So if I view the updates, they've all got updates because I don't use them. I don't. Yes, this Minimal is built by Capano. So I need to update all of those. Right, it'll give you some information about it and you can then choose to update it. You don't need to actually enable it to update it. So we've got this one, so let's update that. It gives you some previews. There's a dark view, there's a light view. Not all of them have both. But one of the things that might make you change from the default theme is the checkbox styling. So if we look at this, instead of just having a basic to do, and it's either to do or done, so it's blank or it's got a cross in it, you can put these symbols in it and it changes it to these icons, which I do think is fabulous. It's fabulous, particularly if you bullet journal. So you can, in this circumstance, have something that's to do, half done or done. So the Things theme is supporting that. So I'll update that one. And I think the other one had exactly the same features. This is light and it's dark as well. I will update it, but I won't use that one. All right, so that's how you update themes when you've got them installed. But if you are looking for themes, click Manage and head out. And what you're looking at is all of the themes that are available. So, you know, I've also seen 80s Neon used a lot. I think one of my friends uses that, loves it. Solarized is quite popular. Here's one dedicated to mobile. You can see the kind of popularity with these with the number of downloads as well. So Minimal is really, really popular. You go into that one and let's see if he's got that information in there. You see beautiful ways to show photographs and also has the icons, the bullet journal icon styles. So I'm looking down here, see if you can see them, but you can see all the information. Here they are. These are the alternative checkboxes. So see screenshots and details, but that's what it would look like. It would look beautiful. So why do I keep mine really simple? I just don't want anything to break. It's as simple as that. You know, I haven't got time to be fixing stuff. So that's the Minimal one. Let's go back to what we've got in here. So there's lots of them in here. So if I were to download one of these that would make it look really different, like 80s Neon, all right, install and use. Straight away, it changes it. So over on the right in particular, it actually changes the colour of my Pomodoro. So let's come in here. That's back to what it's not bad. I couldn't work with that. I can see the appeal. You know, I'm a child of the 80s. I can see the appeal, but no. If we open up a file in here, what we got? What do we have? Like that. That to me, I like plain. Let me know in the chat what you like. I've no idea how to pronounce that one, Carol, but I have heard good things about that. Anapusin?
Anapusin.
Yeah. Let's try that one then. Carol recommends. Let's go off and... Oh, good grief. I mean, I can't even... No. It's bad, isn't it? Let's have a look at that. Oh, clearly not spelt like that. It must be ANA at the beginning. Maybe not. Should we try AN and carry on? I had heard very good things about that. There it is. And you poo chin, I think. That one. That one there. Let's have a look at it. Couldn't be worse than what I'm using. There is a very nice kind of warmish one in here as well. So let's install and use that. Yeah, warm, I would say. Not as warm as I would imagine. Did that activate that? Yes, it did. Okay. Don't know why that's not doing more than it is. But I have heard good things about that one. That one also has the things with the checkboxes. So a theme is your first step into choosing like a base look for your files inside Obsidian. It will change almost everything in Obsidian, or it's capable of changing almost anything. So you saw the Neon 80s one changed the lot. I couldn't work with that one. I've got no problem with it being dark though. So if I set my theme to default and I set it to dark, I got no problem using that. As I say, the only issue for me with that does look quite nice. I could live with that, but I don't think the callouts work as well with it. And that's my reason for keeping it plain. But the plain one, as you can see, any headings that you've got, they're all going to be, in this case, white, or if you're in light view, they're all going to be black. So this is how I actually put the colours in mine. So switch that back to light, and I'm using the default theme. So with the purple accent, so it looks like that. Now we're going to need something with some, let's create a new file, right. So I was actually thinking I needed to do this for real. So what I needed to do was to create a file that just demonstrates my CSS. So what I mean by that is something like this is a paragraph. And obviously that would be formatted as a paragraph. And then I'd have a heading 1, and then I'd have a heading 2, and all the way up to heading 6. So let's get a 3 in there. Let's duplicate that for speed. And a 4, a 5, and a 6. Right, and how I do that when I'm working with it, so I'm going to put a paragraph between each one as well. So we see what the spacing looks like. You can alter the spacing as well, and I think I did that with some of mine. So my heading 1, I have mapped to that. So what I'm using is Command Option and then a number to format these headings. And the reason that they're looking the way they look in the colours is those are the colours that I've chosen. I was only concerned, so I'm moving up out of the way. I did change the size, but I think a 5 and a 6 are very similar. I wanted colours that I could instantly look at and know what heading they were. I did have a heading 1 as black, and I couldn't be doing with it. That might look black, but it's not. It's green. It's a kind of petrol-y, greeny blue. Now, what I would then do is after the paragraph, I would probably put, not there, just before each heading, I would do that. So let's get that one and put that at the bottom. That is what I would do. But if you were to do this today, yours would not look like that if you're using the default theme. So how do we do that? Well, what's happening is back inside the preferences in here, I can change the font as well. I have seen people change it to the interface font. And no, what have I changed it to? Is there a font name in there? Which one is it? I can't remember which one it is, but there is a font that will let you use arrows. Now, I just have those autocorrect, and that way it doesn't matter what font I use. But you can change the font if you want, just for the interface, or for the text as well. You can set a monospace font if you want, and you can change the size of the font. So if you find it difficult to read or you want it smaller, you can change that as well. You've also got the option to change the font size with Control and Scroll, or a pinch gesture. I've got that on and I have no idea why, because I never use it. But we'll carry on. So there's zoom levels that you can control as well. And all of these elements are you customizing the appearance of it. So the window frame style, whether it's translucent. I don't bother with the translucency of it. Can't be doing with it. I just think it slows the machine down. But that's me. But what I do fiddle with is this stuff at the bottom here. So all of this that we have in there, I have no idea why you're blue, you're usually red. Must have been playing with my shortcut keys. This is where you use CSS. So in your installation, if you've not set anything up, you'll just see that there's nothing there. But I have 3 completely separate CSS files. The important ones are the headings and the tag pills. I will show you what a tag pill is. I can't remember what on earth I put in new. We'll find out. What this is telling you, though, that the location for these, what they're calling CSS snippets, is your Vault and then the .obsidian folder. Now, on a Mac, the .obsidian folder is hidden by default. That's what the dot means. So you would have to turn it on so you could see that before you can get into it. But you have an option at the top there to click that, and it will take you into the snippets folder, even though, technically speaking, it's hidden. So if we look at it, mine are in my folder, Documents Local, so they're not stored on Dropbox or anywhere like that because I use Obsidian Sync. They're in my Application Support folder in Obsidian, and this is my Demo Vault. This one, .obsidian, is the hidden folder. Within it, I have a snippets folder, and these are my snippets. So have a look at what's in that new one. Oh, you want to open with that, do you? You're not. Right, let me open this with, we could use BBEdit, couldn't we? We could do, which is what it should be opening with. And you're having a long think about it. Why are you doing that? Oh, it's verifying. Must have updated itself. Stephen's waiting for the specific custom changes to headings. There you are. Excellent. We will be revealed. Right, I have no idea. I got this from somewhere. This is not in my... Well, it may be doing something. It probably is. But I didn't do it. So we'll leave that one alone. Like I said, no idea what I was doing with that one. But the headings and the tag pills are the important ones. So we have a file here that's going to sort the headings out. Let's go see that. Come on, where you go. So what I'm going to do with it, I would need to close this vault at this point. So I'm closing that vault, and what I'm doing is I am moving my headings file out of that folder. So what I've now got in my folder is just the new and the tag pills. And then I'm going to reopen that vault. It's going to read its files in at the point that I open it. So I'm opening the demo vault. And all of my headings should be black because I've removed my CSS. So that's what it would look like by default. So let's lose this Puma thing. That's what it looks like by default. So it is this file here that is making these headings coloured the way that I want them. So we will have a look at this. I'm not trusting you not to open in... oh, BBEdit, you're happy again now, are you? Crying out loud. So, couldn't be easier. Right, what we're doing up here. These are where I specify, so you can see I'm using standard orange and standard green for some of these. But I think I was colour coding them in here. Now, it's because there's 2 modes in here. So if I just come out of there and show you, this mode is when you're editing it. But you can have a read mode, and you see there is a slight difference between them. They move fractionally. So be aware of that. I wanted mine to look as closely as possible to each other without jumping up and down. I wanted the spacing to look reasonable. So I'm not at all sure why these 3 are the same in that bit at the top. But what I've done is, down here you can see it says editor and preview headers. And this is where I've set them up. So this instruction here, CSS is all the same. It tends to start with either a dot or a keyword. And in this case, it's a dot, which means it's a class. rather than a div. So you can see it's CM header 1. And then after that, it's got a comma and it's got another dot. So it's applying to two classes of the heading 1. There's the heading 1. There's the heading 2. So all of these are the same, apart from header 1, header 2, header 3, and so forth. So it's kind of a bit backwards. Your level is at the end, but you've got these two classes at the beginning. Then you have an opening curly bracket. That is matched at the end by a closing curly bracket. And anything and everything that's in the middle of those two curly brackets defines what the text looks like. So some of this, there is more information than there is in others. So this one has 4 things. I'm specifying a size for it, and you might think, well, what on earth is 1.4 EM? 1.4 EM is taking a base size, which would be 1, and then adding a 0.4 to it. The colour is in a hex code, and as we looked at last week, if I take that and I copy it, and I go to Raycast and paste it in, you can see the colour, and it's saying it's cyan. It's not, it's way darker, but you can see the colour. So if we come to this one and do the same, this is where Raycast comes in incredibly handy. You don't have to go anywhere else to see it. You can look at it here. So that one's blue. This one is orange, and I've used the code word orange. So you have colours that have names. In fact, most of the colours do have names, but not all of them have been rolled into CSS. So orange has, green has, other colours less so. So I actually use the name if it's available, and that way it makes it easier for me to look at it. With this one, that last one I do believe is purple. Let's check, that's dark purple. I may be able to change that to dark purple. I'm just showing you 2 different ways of doing it. So for the heading 1, we've got our size, we've got a colour. The next thing I've specified is the weight of the font. So that is how bold is it. And again, you just have to know with CSS that the font weight goes from 100 to, I think 700 or 900, one of them. So I've got it at 700, and the bang important at the end is an instruction to the CSS to say if there's a clash, this one applies. Now that's because CSS is actually short for cascading style sheet. And the cascade is the order of how it applies. So by putting important on that line, I'm saying whatever size this is specified to be elsewhere, this one trumps it. I want you to make it 700. The last line of that is to put a padding on the bottom of it of 2 pixels. The next one's got more to it. The first 3 lines are equivalent. I'm setting a size, I'm specifying a colour, and I'm specifying a font weight. But below that, I'm putting a border on it of 1 pixel that's solid. You didn't see a border, but I will show you where you will see that. Then I've got a width of it of 70% for this border, and I put some padding at the bottom of that as well. So the extra for that is these 2 lines. For this one, I haven't got any lines, back to 4. This one I'm only specifying 3, I'm not putting a margin on the bottom, nor this one, nor this one. So that is the code for the colours I have chosen. If you want me to share that code, happy to do so. Let me know. So that is the code. It needs to be in a specific place to work, as we've already seen. So in there, put it back in and let's see if it will reread it or if I will need to restart. Didn't even need that. Straight away it's applied. Now if you look here now under the heading 2, so let's do that and just show you that one there. That is the only heading that has a line underneath it, and that was the extra lines that were in the CSS. These colours are the colours that are rippling through. And when I go in preview, you can see that line goes 70% of the way across the screen. That's what the 70% was for. I chose to do that with a heading 2 because I was using a heading 2 in a specific way, and it made sense to me that it was like a main delimiter. So that's what it looks like when you are in read-only view. Right, so they have all come in, and I think for me that looks real, and it's almost as close as that. You know, the difference is that line's not going all the way across. The heading 1 is shown bigger, but I can live with that in edit view, and I can live with that in read view. So that was what I did with it. That is the basic CSS. The extra CSS that I added was in the other file. So I'll show you the file for this tag pills. Tag pills are fabulous. Right, first of all, it's defining what a tag looks like. Now, I'll show you. We haven't got any tags in there at the moment, so let's put a tag in. Right, so let's go into there. Hashtag, meaning it's a tag. You can see follow-up looks like the only tag we've got. So I'm actually going to put in there, I'm a tag. There we go. And you can see that that is defined by what is specified in here. So you can see it's a variable, and the variable is the text accent colour, hence it's purple. That would change if I change the accent colour. Then we've got the basics down here of what it looks like. Also being aware that if we go into the preview in here and we hover over it, the colour changes. And obviously any tag that you have in there, you can click on it and it will show you all the tags in the vault. So every tag will look like that, which is not great if you think about it, because sometimes I want to say something's really important, or I want to follow up on something. So follow up is a tag I use a lot, and I use that during a live session. So if I'm going through a live session and I think I want to take a screenshot, and I'm not doing it now, or I want to follow up like I missed what that book was called, I will add a tag of follow up. So in here, let's just put one in here. So this is a paragraph of notes taken during a live session, and I want to follow up. So I put the hashtag in, and I've got follow up as a tag. And what else could I have? I could be saying that something's incredibly important. So I could go in there. Obviously, I've only got 2 tags at the moment, but I am going to put in here important. And as you can see, all of these tags look identical. Right, it's not bad that they look identical, but it doesn't exactly scream, follow up, does it? So one thing I did, and this is not related to CSS at all, this is just something practical. In this follow up in here, I decided it would be better if I put an underscore and an emoji, and you can put emojis in tags. What on earth are you doing? I don't want you up there, but never mind. Right, I put the fire one in, which is that one. And that didn't work, did it? Okay, let me put it somewhere else and copy and paste it in, because you're clearly in a mood. Right, let's go and do it. Fire. Got to love live demos. Right, there we go. What I've got on my clipboard, hopefully, that side of it is that. So that's the first thing that I did, and I thought that differentiates it to me. I don't need to type that in every time I put this in. As soon as I type FOLL, that will automatically do that. So if I go in here, put the hashtag in, you see I've got follow up and I've got follow up there with my fire on it. So we're good to go with that. Right, in here you can see I've got 2 of these. So I've got a follow up there, which looks like it's in Raycast notes. Yes, something I've done in here. So what I would do with that is I can change that and then choose that one, and now they're all the same. You see what happens in here, as soon as you don't have any instances of that tag, it disappears. That can be a pain, because if I've got all my plus emojis and they all disappear, I'm not going to be happy. So maybe create a page where you manually put your tags in so they don't disappear from in here, which they automatically will do. Right, let's get back to where we were. So I've got my follow-up tags. That's the first thing that I did. But when I was in Rome, I was able to colour code them. They looked amazing. And I wanted to do that in Obsidian. That is where the CSS comes in. So when we talk about tag pills, that's what we're talking about. They either look like that or they look like that. Now, what? Whoa, they're green and they're important, they're red. That's coming from the CSS. It's the CSS that's doing that. So let's have a look in here. When you hover over it, the text will be white and the background colour will be that accent, which we've seen. And these are the tags that I have created. Every one of them is syntactically identical. We have YouTube. We have the colour set to white and the background colour set to red because YouTube's brand is red. Important is also set to white and red with a font weight of 500. There may or may not be a difference between the YouTube one. Let's stick a YouTube one in and we will see it. So, YouTube. Right, let's get back into there. Next one is work in progress, which is green. And then I've got CCI, which is a content creation item. Then we've got the one that we've seen, which is the follow-up. And you basically create in here any colour you like. So the MacBites ones are orange. ROTI, which means review of the year, is orange because it's MacBites related. WWDC is orange because that's MacBites related. After hours, the background colour is midnight blue. Then we've got the week at MacBites headquarters, and that is midnight blue. It's the same as these, so all three of these. Then I've got my VIP stuff. So if it's going in my VIP newsletter, it will have a different background colour. And finally, if I need to see Mike about something, sorry you're at the bottom, that will be this colour. So let's add one of those to see Mike about. We'll put Mike up there. Right, so how that is working is when you're in this view, I don't think you are able to do that with it. But when you go into the read view, you get the colours applied. And I just love that. So you can do more than I've done with this. I think I've seen people take the hash away, but I like seeing the hash. So as I hover over it, you can see I'm getting the default, but Mike is blue, YouTube is red. Important looks the same as YouTube, but it's actually a bolder text. The one that I haven't manually coloured in any kind of way, this I'm a tag, is just the standard. So all of these would look like that without the CSS applying. So let's prove that point by doing what we did with the other one, which is taking the tag pills out of there. Hang on. I think that's open in BB Edit. That's going to cause all kinds of grief. So no, we don't need to save it. Let's take the tag pills out of the snippets folder and you see instantly you've lost everything. Apart from the icon in this case, which is actually part of the tag. As long as this code is in your snippets folder, you can have colour coding and it looks amazing. So I only really do this for two things. One is the headings and two are the tags. And I love the fact that Command and E will switch me between preview and, well, I say reading view and editing view. That's editing view, that is reading view. If you remember that shortcut key, you can quickly just go into that view, look for what you're looking for, and then switch back, and then you're in edit view and you can carry on. I'm not sure if you could make this. You probably can. You can probably make it that you get the same colours in this view. But I actually find that quite distracting when I'm writing. So I'm happy to switch to a preview and then switch back where they're muted and I'm not being accosted by them when I'm writing. So, oh, Carol says she needs these. What I'll say with the tag pills is be consistent with your use of them, and you will have to go back into here. If you don't use them anymore, you don't really have to delete them. But if you want it to apply to a new thing, then you do. So for example, one of the ones I have is this CCI here. Only my code for that, which isn't in this database, it's not in this vault, but when I actually use it, I actually do this and I put in, please put it in the right place, I put in a gift because I consider if I'm creating content, I am gifting that content. And I love to see that one as well. So I'm not quite sure what background colour that is, but we'll find out. I will save that and then go into here. And let's say I want to follow that up because I want to create some content around it. This does not exist yet. So I do have to put a gift, which is where it's going crazy. But at the moment, it's all right. There we go. At the moment, it's going to look like all of the others. But if I switch to the read view, you can see it's actually purple. You can't see the icon too well. I've been playing around with the colour in the icon, but I actually quite like the purple. But I like the gift icon as well, so I've left it like that. So you would need to look at your tags and then change out the names and the colours and the font weight to match what you want to do. But it's not difficult because they're all the same. You literally just need 4 lines of code. The first line is saying it's a tag, which looks like this. So you specify what the tag looks like. So in that case, it's #WIP. Then you tell it what text colour you want and what background colour you want. And that's it. Now, you may be concerned, it's like, well, what do I type in for the colour? You can use any hex code that you can find. If you are lucky enough that something has a colour, then you can put that in. So red, blue, orange, green, you can just use what's there. It is so easy to change these things. So if we wanted for that follow-up, where's the follow-up one? That's the colour we've got at the moment, but if I wanted that to be blue, I could do that. That's not a very good blue, is it? Oh, hang on, we don't need that at the beginning. There we go, that's better. So it couldn't actually be easier to do this. You just need a file like this to get going with like one example, and then all you need to do is duplicate it, and change the colours. Couldn't be easier. So I will paste back what we had in there and a #, or it will ignore it. And as soon as I save it, updates back to the green. So I am seeing, yes, you would love the code. You need them. Okay, I will put that with the instructions from the templater thing and sort it out. But basically, it will just be that file. And you will need to change these to whatever. I'll delete the majority of mine. In fact, it doesn't really matter, does it? You can just change the name. If you want one that's after hours blue, just do that. Just change whatever your hashtag is in there and then delete what you don't need. You can always duplicate any of these in the future. Probably the only problem you would have is like, oh, it's not working. And that would be because the name of the tag here is not absolutely identical to the name of the tag in there. That would be the only reason. And that's why I'm saying maybe a good idea, even if you keep them in a file outside Obsidian, just to have your tags in a list somewhere. That's something I would probably put in drafts. And that way, if I don't have any for Mike, and I'm thinking like, you know, what was the icon? Maybe I'd put an icon next to Mike and I couldn't remember it. I can copy and paste it from drafts in there. The disadvantage of putting your tags in a file in Obsidian is that they will be listed and they'll come up in searches and things, which is why it's probably the one thing I would keep outside of Obsidian. But I do that. And another thing, if you're working with tags, is there is an extension, I think it's called Tag Wrangler. Let's have a look. I didn't install it, did I? Let's go and have a look for it. Let's go browse it. Tag Wrangler, that first one. Because it's difficult to rename tags. So if you've used say you use somebody's full name and they've now changed their name, that would be trickier than you would like it to be to rename the tag. But what Tag Wrangler would enable you to do is to do just that. So if I install that so you can see it, install it, activate it. Right, what that will give you in this panel over here is the ability to rename it. So you can now rename it. You can create a page for that tag if you want. You can do a new search. You can require that in search or you can exclude it from search. So it gives you more options. So if I wanted to rename, that's probably the one to rename. So we can see it in here. It's the one next to heading 5. If I go into there and I want to rename that by putting another fire on the end like that, as I do that, it says it's updated 2 files. This has been updated and you can see that's updated and this is updated. So Tag Wrangler Very, very handy. I do have that one installed and I do use that occasionally, particularly at the beginning when I started with Obsidian and I'm like, oh, I can't rename a tag, can I not? And like, there must be an extension, there must be a plugin for this, and there was. So that goes with it in a way. Carol says you can change the names. Maybe they added that, but you used to have the Tag Wrangler, and Tag Wrangler has lots of nice features. So I've stuck with it. Right, okay. We got any questions on that other than you would like the code?
No.
Right, okay. We're going to head into the next bit now, which is Obsidian and note-taking workflow. So this was talked about last week in relation to having Obsidian there ready to take notes is one part of the story. But when it comes to taking notes, there's so many different ways to do it. So I talked earlier in the show about making some notes. And if it's like a summit, now a summit can be a 1-day thing or it could be a 5-day thing. And it could also be a cohort-based course. And I look back at my notes and I do have handwritten notes from cohorts of previous courses that I've been on, and I know that they're handwritten, and I may know ballpark what notebook they're in. But are they usable? And the answer's no. And I'll have things written like, take a screenshot. They're very analogue. My thinking back in the day was, I need to post-process these anyway, so I'll type them up, but you never get the time. So I've totally changed my note-taking workflow. Even if I don't attend a session, I have a page in Obsidian with the details of that session on it, even if I don't attend. Now, you might think that that's ridiculous, but here's why. So this actually happened today. Yesterday. Yesterday. I needed to be in 3 places at once and that wasn't happening. 2 I can handle, 3's a little bit too much. So there was a live session on and I knew it was only going to be 30 minutes. And it was TechSmith showing me something in Snagit, some new feature in Snagit. So I booked on the webinar, I added it to my calendar, I got the reminder, knew I wasn't going, and once I'd got the booking, I added it in to Obsidian. And I actually made a note, will not be able to attend this live. Why on earth would I do that? And the answer is because if I don't do that, I'm going to be sitting there thinking to myself, did I attend that live? Did I take notes? Are they in my notebook? Where are they? If I've got a note in there that says you did not attend live because you were triple booked, I know I didn't take any notes. And when I do take my notes, they're going to be on that page. So I am never now, ever looking back, saying bad words about not knowing if I took notes and if I did, what format, what app. Are they in Obsidian? Are they in OneNote? Are they in Evernote? I don't even bother looking. If they're not in Obsidian, if there isn't even a placeholder, it didn't happen. Didn't happen. So what I said I'd do is walk you through how I would set up for a summit, which is multiple sessions. So there was a Second Brain Summit. It was a 1-day thing. That was a charge for event as well, first time. Previous ones have been free. There were, I think, let's have a look how many. There was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 sessions. That was what my index looked like. But that isn't the only way to do it. So it's things like that. So that's what I will talk you through right from the very beginning when you get the email that says, oh, you've got these 60 sessions. I hope you're all organised with your notes, which happens a lot. So we will be doing it in here. We just won't be doing it in that particular file. So we'll get rid of that. We can close that. Make that full screen. Come on. You know you want to. And close BB Edit lest we upset the CSS. Right. So how does it normally start? It normally starts something as basic as that, which is I know I've got cohort 17 at Build a Second Brain, and I will get a mail, and I have simplified this greatly. But it will tell me there are live sessions on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. Tuesdays are at 3 o'clock, Wednesdays are at 9 o'clock, and we're going from the 4th of the 4th to the 26th of the 4th. There's also office hour sessions on a Thursday, but that's only from the 6th to the 20th, and I'm like, whoa, stop. It's like a fire hose because they're not giving you calendar appointments or anything, and even if they did, that's not you creating notes. So, best way to do it. Now, this might seem long and complicated. But the thing is, for something where there's 7 sessions, it's probably overkill. For something like the single day thing, again, they'd all be the same dates and stuff. So I've gone in with a middling one, right? Which is, how many sessions are there? If those are the instructions, how many sessions are there? And that's the first thing you've got to sort out. So my first thing is not to go into Obsidian, because it will take me longer to do this in Obsidian, because I'd have to look at that and think, okay, so the 4th, there's one on Tuesday the 4th at 3 o'clock. If there's one the following week at 3 o'clock on a Tuesday, that'll be the 11th. You'll be all over the place. So what I actually do is put the instructions to one side, and this is why the single day ones are really easy. But we're going in with something that's not a single day one. So what I do is to go in here and sort it out. So they're telling me it's live sessions. I happen to know what they're called. But I always start with what it is. So it's Build a Second Brain Cohort 17 is what it starts with. I could do it in a spreadsheet and make the spreadsheet very complicated. I'm going to keep it fairly simple in terms of spreadsheets, lest Mike start laughing. But I always start with that. I'm going to transfer this and create notes from it. And I want the notes to start with what it is, and that way they're all together in a jumbled up folder. I do not separate these out necessarily. I may do, may not. But I always make sure that the beginning of the note title is the same. So if there are 3 sessions a week for 4 weeks, there's my first week, there's my second, there's my third, and there's my 4th. Oh, that's not good. It's done the number thing, Mike. Oh, how do I make that stop? I just want to copy. Oh, let's make that stop. Do you do the right click draggy downy thing? Clearly not. Oh, right. What I'll do is I will go down to 12 and we'll cheat. Right, that'll do. Now, at that point, is that right or not? No, it's not, because it said office hours for 3 weeks. So there won't be a last one. So at this stage, there's 11. Right, the next thing that I would do with that is put in what it is. So I would go into here, I would then put it's a live session, and it's live session 1A, because that's what they call it. The next one is live session 1B. The next one is the third thing of the week, which is called office hours. So I'm actually typing this in. Now, I will be honest with you, I automate it more than this, because I can, but that would be a superfluous demonstration for showing you how I get the notes created in Obsidian. If you want to see more about that, let me know. It's lots of magic in Sublime Text. Right, I could at this point make this much easier actually. This office hours is going to have to be office hours 1, isn't it? Because what I could do is take these and paste those over there and then just change the 1 to a 2. So this is just, however you choose to do this is up to you. What we're trying to get to is a place where we have a list of the events. Simple as that. So let's do that again. This time we're going in and making it 3. I could change all of these in a text file faster than this, but that's me. You're a 2, you're a 3, no more of those, into there. So now we need the first 2, which is the live sessions, paste that in, and change that to a 4. That, we're almost there. Right, there is something else that I do. Your mileage may vary. The reason that I do it is it makes sense to me. So at the beginning, I have cohort 17. So it's Build a Second Brain, it's cohort 17. I could even shorten that to BASB 17, to be honest. But I always put that at the beginning. That tells me that these, when these turn into notes, which they will do, they will sort correctly. The other thing I do is I put the date. I put the date at the end. I'm not concerned about the time, but I do put the date at the end. And I put the date in sort order because that's just the way that I work. So I put the date in brackets and I go through and I do that with all of them. So that one was the 5th, the next one was the 6th, and so forth. Right, why I bother doing that is, while I'm in the middle of cohort 17, I know exactly when it is. Ask me again in 3 months, not a clue. So I go through and I do that with it. Let me check if I've got one that I did earlier. I have got one that I did earlier, so I'm not going to bother with the rest of it. Right, but what I'm going to show you is that once I've got that in a spreadsheet, now the reason I put it in a spreadsheet is for the copying and pasting value. So you saw me be able to just copy these cells, drag those down and all of that. So that's why it's in a spreadsheet. But the next thing I do is just copy it. So once I'm happy with that, it just gets copied. And the next place it goes is, and I could do all of this in a spreadsheet. So if you're wondering why I've taken it out at this point, I'm faster with a text editor than I am a spreadsheet. Unless it's something that is something like once every quarter. And then I'll make a spreadsheet and I will automate the life out of it. But I am just going to show you the basics of it. So what we have in here, there's our instructions again. And there is what I've copied, which is that, but I'm going to show you, this is the one I did earlier and I've got the dates on it, but I did it in exactly the same way. So purely for time, I am going to copy that and go back into here. Right. Now, as it stands, I could make some pages and I could call them that. That would be good, wouldn't it? And what I mean by that is, we're going to see now about renaming files. I need to do 2 things with this block of text. 2 different things. So I've got that on the clipboard, haven't I? Let's put it in there. Right. This first block I'm going to use to name the files because they are the file names. This one I'm going to use as an index. So I need to do something different with it. So I will take this, I will put this in a file of its own, like that, and I will save that file as a text file. So I'm going to stick it on the desktop, which I know I shouldn't be putting it there, but I will. Right, BASB 17, files, txt. That's it. We will come back to that because if I were to make these files now, they'd be blank. And that is not what I want at all. So let's go into Obsidian and see what we would do in Obsidian if we were doing this on a 1-by-1 basis. So what I would do, it would have been the 4th. You've got in here the cohort 17 starts. In fact, we've done this before, haven't we? We have created it and there was our first day. I don't think we put any more in. We did. We had a 5 as well. But the problem with doing it this way is, if I sit down at the beginning of the week and I think, oh, I need this page, and I put that in, the name isn't quite the same, so we'll be all right. But if I go in there and I've got what I want in it, great. But then I have to put in who the presenter is and what the time is, all of this, and all of these headings. So this came from a template, if you remember. But I'm not going to create these pages by going in to next week where there is nothing and start fiddling around. I am not going to do that. I'm going to automate the life out of it. So with this one, because the name is different, we'll get rid of it. We will get rid of it. And I'll use this one to show you what's in here. So I can't predict when the date will be. So I'm going to get rid of the date in there and just put the word date. Not linked to anything. I'm not going to put time in, so we'll just put time. I'm not having this automate in any kind of way either. And I'm going to put down, I will put Chiago 14, even though he's not doing it at the moment, but never mind, we just need a name. Right, so we've got the presenter, we've got the series it's from, we've got the information. Have I put in here as much as I can possibly put in here? And the answer is yes. As far as I'm concerned. That's pretty much what my notes look like. Now, what I want to do with this is take this as an example file. There's nothing in here that is a template. This is a file. You can see the name of it. This is a file, not a template. But what I'm going to do is select everything and copy it. Then I'm going to do the absolute unthinkable, which is I'm going to delete this current file. So we now don't have that file. And we don't have the file in here because I deleted it in there as well. Right, why have I done that? Because I'm going to go back over here and I'm going to make a new file. And I'm going to put that in it. It's only Markdown, so I can do this. That's going to be my example file. So I'm going to save that. I'll also put that on the desktop, already thinking about it. That is my notes page. And that one is going to be a Markdown page. And I'm going to put that on the desktop. Now I've got the two things that I need. So moving this out of the way so you can see it. One is this list of files. And that tells me there are 11 sessions. So if I had 11 copies of that named correctly, I wouldn't have to create them. And that's why I do this. So how I do this. I make a new folder and I put that in it. It really doesn't matter what on earth that folder's called, but we'll call it BSB Notes to be correct. And then I open this up. And then I take that and I copy it and I paste it until I have 11 copies of it. That was why I took the date out of it. These are at the moment 11 generic notes pages. They are all the same. But I'm not going to have to create them manually, which is what interests me. Right, I could rename these manually, but look at the names they need to have. Not typing that lot. So this is what I do. I open up a Better Finder Rename, which is an app that's going to let me do this. Right, I don't want sequence numbers. What I want is advanced and special. And I want to rename from a file list. So what I'm doing is dragging these into here. Those are the files. I do not want them called that. That was the last time I did it. So what I'm going to do is clear the file and I'm going to browse for the naming file, which is also on the desktop, which is that one. That's the one with the names in it. And I'm going to open the file. It instantly previews what these are going to be called. Oh, fabulous. I don't have to do it. So yes, that works all the way up to 4B and rename them. Right. Now, obviously, you're thinking at this point, yes, but they're outside Obsidian. I know they are, but you can just drag and drop them in, can't you? So let's get that. No, we don't want you. Stop appearing. Right. We need another tab. We need documents local, application support. We need demo vault. They can go anywhere. I could put them in the right place, or I could just put them in the inbox with all our other stuff. And you can see we've got sessions down here that we've got as well. That was when we were very early on sharing Obsidian stuff. So here's my notes in that first window. Take those over there and put them in there. And there they are. Right, let's have a look what that looks like in Obsidian. Right, where's my other Obsidian? Demo Vault. Right. If we go to look at the files will be there. So in the inbox, there are all the files. That doesn't help us build an index for this though, does it? That one we don't need, so we'll delete it. But these are tagged at the top. They are paged to Build a Second Brain and Build a Second Brain 17, which is that page. And you can see it has already noticed the linked mentions in those pages. What it doesn't give me, though, is a nice index that I can use. And this is going to be important, that I've got a nice index that I can use. So, in fact, I should have done that the other way. I should have done it first. Right, but you've got the principle. Now you've got the principle, I'll go do it right. To do it right, we need to go back to our text editor. Maybe you can explain what the issue is. Right, so back into Sublime Text. I'm going back to where we had this. And I said these were going to be used to rename, absolutely fine. And these were going to be used for a different purpose. Right, now we've got our renaming elsewhere, we'll work with just one copy of these. What I'm about to to do is a feature that is in Sublime Text as a text editor. It's also in a free text editor called Cot Edit. I don't think BB Edit has it. If it does, I'm unaware of it. What I'm going to do is edit all of those lines together. I am not going to edit them individually. How I do that is normally you have one cursor there. So if I move that, you can see there's a bar at the end of each line. But if I select a group of lines that I want to work with and I use the shortcut key, Command Shift and L, I get multiple cursors. So what's happening now is, as I'm moving, it's at the beginning of the line, it's moving through. Right, why is that important? That's important because I want to create an index of these and I want a bullet point at the beginning, which is a dash, and then a space. And that puts a bullet point at the front of every line. Doesn't matter if it's 11, like we've got, or 11,000. It would do the lot. What I'm now going to do is move forward and select all of the text that makes up each file name. With that selected, I can put square brackets around it, like that. And then press escape, and everything's done. All of them. Right, why that's amazing is I can copy that from there, and I can go back into Obsidian, and I can say, session list, we'll have that as a nice heading too, with an underline, and paste it in. And look at that. I have an index automatically built up for me. Which is good as far as it goes. It can get better though. It can get better. So that's what we're after. And as we hover over these, you can see each page is there ready and waiting for my notes. Now, obviously, the more sessions that are in one of these things that you're in, a course, I mean, some Udemy courses I've seen have got like 80 odd lessons. If you want to take notes on each of those, you can do. Right, that's good as far as it gets. For demonstration purposes, I did it the way that I did it so you could follow along as to why I was doing it. Now, I'm going to do it slightly differently. Only one thing that I'm changing, but even so. So you may think this is sacrilege, but I'm going to go in here and I'm going to delete this lot. And there is a reason. Because, I'll show you the reason. Lovely session list. Wouldn't it be great if I could go from session to session from here? So at the bottom, after the follow-up, I really want to put build a second brain 17, but I don't particularly want all of it. At the minute, there's only a session list in there, but there will be other stuff. So I will put a heading and I will pull in only the session list, which will display like that. But I am too bone idle to copy and paste it into the other 10. So this is what I'm going to do. We'll take everything that's in here and then we will delete it. So delete the lot and go back to what we had over here in our BSB notes, which I deleted, which wasn't the best idea I ever had, but I'm opening it up. So there's the folder that I need those files in. So how am I going to do that? Well, I've just copied it. So if I copy that in there, you can see that line is what's going to pull in my index to every page. And as I say, I'm doing this with 11, but I'm going to show you one for real that I have used this week. And I think it's got 45, 46 sessions in it. Right, so that's what I need. I'm going to save that. Again, it doesn't matter what I call this as long as I put it in the right place, which is in my notes. So we'll just call it file. As long as it's a markdown file, it doesn't matter. Oh, wouldn't be good to have the F though. Right, there's our file. Get rid of that and go into here. So I now need more copies of that. So let's copy that. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, I am hoping. And do the same again. So into Better Find a Rename. It will remember, where have you disappeared to? There you go. It will remember the files. So if you do need to do this twice, you can pull these in and you can see from the preview. Now, if you've realised, if you're doing it for a second time because you realised you've not got the right number of files, you can reload this. just to make sure. So it's pulling the names, if you remember, from this file. And the reason we're doing it twice is because we've added an index. So let's perform the renames, come out of there. There are our files that just need to be added to the inbox of our vault in there. Now what I've got is exactly what I had before, but with the addition of a lovely index that I have not had to do manually, which is my aim in life, not to do it manually. So let's have a look in here. Where are you? There they are, all coming in. So that's my session list on that page, but on any one of these down the bottom, I can go to any one of them. So I can envisage a time when somebody sat there saying, oh yes, you know, we mentioned that in 2A. I can whip back to 2A. Manual things that I do, just to jazz these up a bit, I always have that at the top and my cursor is underneath it. And between that and the admin notes, I tend to put stuff in there to prettify it. And what I mean by that is I happen to have some stuff here. These are just images. So session 1 is all about capture. Session 2 is all about organize and then distill and express. So I have these images. So if I take this image and I send it to Cloud App, soon to be known as Zite, I know, right? As soon as that has been uploaded, I come in here. I put, if I just want to put the link, I can paste it because it's automatically been put on my clipboard. But if I put the exclamation mark or the bang at the beginning, I have a text expansion, URL, which puts in what it is. And when I click away, it's pulling that in live. So 1B was about capture. I'd like us, don't do it twice, copy that and go into A, make some space in here and paste, and now I've got it in there as well. So that's something I tend to do on the day. I find that quite cathartic, to be honest. And I leave the cursor between the two. For something like cohort 17, I would probably, up here, let's move to the other side of that. It doesn't matter where that is for pulling it in terms, but what I would do here is I have got a hero header for 17. So I'm doing the same and I am uploading that to Cloud App. So share to Cloud App. It's strutting its stuff, and while it's thinking about it, I'll put the bang in there and then I'll use my URL and it will put in the cohort graphic. And then I will move down below. So now that file has got two things in it, I just want to check that my notes are only pulling in the session list, and yes, they are. And pretty much at that point, I am ready to go. As I say, sometimes cohorts can be as long as 6 months, and they can be 3 or 4 sessions a week. I did order one. I did go to a cohort-based thing this week. It was a summit, and there was lots and lots of sessions, and it was a godsend to be able to do it the way I've just demonstrated it. I appreciate, you know, I'm starting in a spreadsheet, I'm taking it through to a text editor, I'm using a better finder rename, but that saves me a ton of time. There's no way I could do that in Evernote. There's no way I could do that in OneNote. So Obsidian saves me time, and I steer away from apps like Tana, which may be amazing, but I can't do that. And I want an app that isn't opinionated, that will just let me do whatever I want in the way I want to do it. And for me, I can fly around a text editor. It's like I'd get done for speeding, wouldn't I, Mike? I am that fast in a text editor. So I can do all kinds of things.
Whereas I crawl along in the slow lane.
Mike crawls along in the slow lane and I get huffy. I'm trying to explain to him what to do and I'm like, no, faster. But honestly, it's worth investing your time into just a few hand-pick things that you do in your text editor for just that purpose. Just changing things or adding things in. So I was able to make those links just by adding square brackets in and didn't do anything else. So do we have any questions on that before I move on and show you the extravaganza that I attended this week? Are we okay with that?
Yeah, Patience asked for a link to the free editor, which I think was Cot Editor.
Yes, it's available in the
Yeah.
Mac App Store, and it can do, I was quite surprised, it can do what Sublime does. Now, Sublime Text is not cheap. It's a professional app, and trust me when I say it is not cheap. It's not as expensive as it was, I think, and it's cheaper than BB Edit, but it's, for doing stuff like this, if you're not using it for anything else. I mean, I code. So I have BB Edit because I can script it, and I have Sublime Text because I'm way faster with it. The multiple cursors that you saw where you can edit multiple lines, I use that so many times a week. You have no idea. And I was doing that before I moved to Obsidian. So to me, it was a natural extension of what I was already doing. And anything that can save me time, because I can't imagine sitting down to like a summit with 50 sessions and making the pages one by one. The chances that you're not going to make a mistake in the file name and then nothing's linking to anything, the way I do it, it's completely foolproof. So if we're okay with that, I'll show you the free editor. Let's go to the App Store. And I can actually show you the app. There's Cot Editor. It opens up quite small. Where have you gone? And it is totally free, which is also amazing. There we go. So it says it's a lightweight text editor, but it is actually incredibly powerful. I was doing regex with it. I was doing multiple copies and stuff, and the reason that I was doing it was the client didn't want to pay for a text editor, so I said, well, let's see how far we can push Cot Edit, and it was great. So and it's really kept up to date, as you can see, only 4 days ago. There we go.
Jammy's just installed it.
Jammy likes free. If I'd have said it was subscription, you'd have run a mile, wouldn't you? So that's what it looks like, and I think in here, can we paste in what we got? No, that's a link, isn't it? Let's go back and get one of these pages, because this is also just totally amazing as far as I'm concerned. You copy that, but when you paste it into an editor, you can then edit away because it's just text. So there's my session list at the bottom. There's all my stuff at the top. This is my graphic. So you can see a hideous URL, and that's just how Get Cloud App works. And let's see, I think... Nope, that's surrounding it. But I did do quite a lot with that. I was really, really impressed. Is there a multiple... Let's have a look what it says. No, not there. I'll have a look at it. But I don't use it much, but it is a very powerful editor. It's worth having. Command and N gives you a new window, but Command and T, and you can open up a new tab. You can also change the file type at the top. So if you want to create a markdown file, you can do all of that. So it is a very capable app. Right, trying to close it. It wants to save it. I don't want to save it. Right. Subscription really hurts Jammy's feelings. You don't mind a one-off. You're happy to support developers. I think with subscription, it depends what you're getting. I mean, I pay a subscription for Obsidian Sync, but I don't want to live without Obsidian. I would actually pay for Obsidian. So I did put a voluntary thing in with the Catalyst thing. But I think when you're paying for a subscription where you are using server space and bandwidth, that is more understandable than an app. I think one of the worst apps I ever saw, I wonder if it's still available. Oh, it was bad. It was a great app, but the price of it was ridiculous. Oh, what was that app? Screen capture. Let's try screen capture. This app was totally free. It'll come to me when I see the names of them. But it was totally free, and it was a good app. I would have recommended this app. So are you still there? Are you still there? Oh, what were you called? Because there's a million apps like this, isn't there? Oh, no, I can't remember what it was called. But this app was the nearest I'd ever seen, which was why I loved it, to, what was that thing that What's-It bought? Sketch. It was very, very close to Sketch. And I downloaded the thing. It was totally free. And the next I see, when I goes looking for it, let me try Sketch and see if it comes up, because it was so close to Sketch. People might be looking for Sketch and they would then change to this thing. No, it's not there. That Sketch actually is there, which is available on Mac but not PC. But this app went subscription. Well, Jammy would have needed gas and air, I'm telling you. The subscription was over £200 a year to take screenshots. It didn't include any hosting. It was just taking screenshots. It was obscene. Right, okay. Oh, he's liking uploading blog posts straight from Ulysses. Oh, hang on, here we go. Ulysses is the only app I've ever been remotely tempted for, but can't justify it because you can do what you need in Scrivener. You can upload from Obsidian, I believe. I've not tried it. And the reason that I'm looking at it, because I have Obsidian, and all of my blog posts are in Obsidian. But the reason I'm looking at it is they added this feature and it broke something else. So if we go in there and we go to the community plugins and browse, I do believe if you put WordPress, if it's there you go, published to WordPress for Obsidian. I've not tried it, can't vouch for it, but there you go. So it might be worth you trying it, Jamie, because obviously Obsidian totally free. You can sync for free via Dropbox, OneDrive, Google Drive, as long as you don't need it on iOS. If you need it on iOS, there is the official way, which is Obsidian Sync, which is not cheap, or there is an unofficial way via GitHub, which I believe is free. But I've not tried it because that's got Dirty Hat written all over it. And I had mine synchronizing with iCloud. So you can sync with iCloud to your iOS devices, but then you're at the mercy of iCloud. It worked for me for about a week and a half. And then it wouldn't sync one day. And didn't I spend about 4 hours cursing? And in the end, I said to Mike, I'm spending money. You're welcome to piggyback on my account, but I'm spending money because I cannot have it that I can't get to my notes. So I pay for it, but there is always iCloud. And if it can do the WordPress stuff, then you're sorted. That's it. Jammy's moving. I'm with Kim. I'm using Notion for different things. You know, I wouldn't fancy moving. Well, I wouldn't. I wouldn't move the MacBites production into Obsidian because it's, although you can multiplay, it's primarily single player, isn't it? And I wouldn't want, where you go, I wouldn't want to subject Mike to having to use Obsidian when you struggle enough in Notion. Would that be fair enough? And Notion's got pictures, so we'll leave it where it is. So Patience is using Notion more for school and such, and Obsidian for journaling. My notes go in Obsidian. My personal notes, the notes that I take, the stuff that I make. But if it's for MacBites, it tends to go into Notion. But I will caveat that with Notion has had a rough 3 weeks. And for the last 3 Fridays, I had the mail from the status saying it's down. And I'm like, I've got a live show at 9. And if I can't see Notion, nothing's happening. So I have taken to putting that in Obsidian. So when our internet provider was out earlier in the week, I said to Mike, well, it doesn't matter because everything's local and it'll sync when it syncs, or not at all, one or the other. And I wasn't worried in the slightest. What I could have done with that, if need be, was get my iMac on my 4G tethered and synchronise it that way. So it would have synchronised from my Mac, gone up to Obsidian Cloud, and then I would have had my devices on 4G and done it that way. But I couldn't do that with Notion. No way, because I wouldn't have had the ability to see the page. Full stop. And Notion on an iPad tethered with 4G, it's a toy. There's so much that you can't even see the navigation. And they've also added another toolbar to it, which why? Now I can't see my text. So I'm in the using both. Jammy's made a very good point. When developers have apps that are a one-off purchase on desktop and then subscription on the iPad. Yes, that's another one. One that I saw do that was Tot. Tot is totally free on the Mac, and it synchronises with the iPad version, which is something ludicrous like £20 odd. I mean, support the developer, yeah, £20 odd. I thought that was ridiculous. I'd rather they charge like half price and paid on both of them instead of having one free. But obviously it's like the sweets at the checkout aisle, isn't it, in the supermarkets? I knew better than to ask my mother. She was a very strict woman, my mother. Right, so if we haven't got... you need to be subscribed, Patience, if you want mails about it being down. You subscribe via the status, which is either Notion status on Twitter, I think there's an email address at the top, like a sign-up page. They do let you know when it's fixed, but I love the fact they don't actually let you know it's down until they've half fixed it. But, I know it's down. If I'm sitting there and I can't see anything, stuff won't load, it's down. And sometimes they don't even acknowledge that. So that is a problem. And it is a problem that I tested Obsidian back in 2021, and I couldn't control the look of it. I checked it again after January 2022, which was like the Notion apocalypse. It was down every day in January, I swear. So I thought, right, I'm going to look at Obsidian again because it's local. And I think with the motivation of it's going to be down, so Obsidian's where it's at, I pushed it further than I did before. Anyway, let me show you the complicated one. The complicated one. Right, I'm going to bring my real vault on. Always hairy scary, but let's do that. My real vault. So the page that we've got over here is my daily page for today. It's Good Friday. I'm ship 30ing. And this is the summit that I was invited to, which is this one on the left. So forget what you're seeing on the right. Let's hold that up. You're not seeing it, right? Let's concentrate on the left. The left is an index page to every session of that summit. And yes, despite it, I am an introvert, believe it or not. So I have a heading. Well, first off, I've got this graphic, and that was put there in exactly the same way as you saw the other graphics. So that was the start of it. Then I have a heading for admin, which I haven't actually had to put anything on yet. Then I've got the schedule, and it was on for 5 days. So I split it up with a heading 2 for day 1. And there's my 8 sessions on day 1. You can see I've stuck to exactly what I said for you would be best practice. IVS is the Introvert Summit 2023. The 0101 is to get the sessions in the right order. It was day 1, session 1. Then there's a price, a title, and then at the end it usually says who it's with. So that's actually there. And then I put the date at the end, which I haven't on some of these, have I? I did on that day. Doesn't look like I did on day 2. Oh, naughty, naughty me. I'll deal with that. But what I've done there, each of these leads to a separate page and my notes are on that page. Day 2, the same. Day 3, the same. And day 4 and day 5. At the bottom, I've got the comms, and that way I don't have to leave them in my inbox till the end of the week. So these are links to Gmail, and they will load in that mail. And that was how I did it. Now, what I'll say with this is obviously I didn't have the titles to add to it at that point. At the point I wanted to create this page, I did not have the titles. So what was I to do? And I decided I would take my own medicine. So let's go back to Sublime. And this was how I did it. It started off like that. Well, that's how it ended up. I put in a heading, which is a heading 2, and I put in enough of a title that it was unique. And then as I got the title got added to these. Now, how did I even start that? Now, I could change this in here, but probably the best place to start would have been in a spreadsheet. So I would take that. Where did I have that? What on earth browser did I have that spreadsheet in? Let's have a look. Oh, not seeing it. Right, where were you? I don't think you were in there. Or were you? No, you weren't. That was my other demo, wasn't it? Were you in there? There we go. Right. So what I would have done is get rid of that and put in the beginning of it. Right. Then I'd be thinking, right, I would then have a dash. I don't know what it's called, but it's going to be the first session. And then there'll be a dash, and then I'll put the name of whatever it is after it. Then I would replicate that. Now, because of me copying and pasting it, this may automatically update numbers that I don't want it to update. This isn't exactly the way that I do it, but the way that I do it, you wouldn't like it. It'd be complicated. It would be complicated. So let's see what this will do. Yeah, it's creating a pattern, whereas I want some of it to update, but I don't want the 23 to update. What I do for real, if you want to see that, let's get rid of that. For real, what I would do is put that part in there. Come on, let's edit it. You know you want to. Right, like that. In this one, I would then put, and it may think of that as a number, but it looks like we're doing okay. So let's just put those in the middle so we can see them. Right, the next one there would be 02. So I could drag these down like that. Now you can see it gets to 12 and then it starts again. I have no idea why it does that. That's curious, isn't it? But what I would do is then concatenate them together. Now that would necessitate going deeper into spreadsheets than I actually want to do at the moment. But I could do it in here. If I took these numbers, let's just quickly put in that one, and please don't give me any grief. Equals that. Is it ampersand or plus, Mike? Let's say ampersand. And we might need some spaces in, but maybe not. Let's see if it works. There we go. Oh no, look, it's done horrible things again. It's done horrible, horrible things again. Let's try it once more. So equals that. Don't you have to put the hideous things around it? It's thinking that's a date and it's not. But for demonstration purposes, it really doesn't matter. I've concatenated something. I'll do it like that. The thing then is what happens when you get to the other end. So that's where we're in a text editor. I had to separate these out, but I didn't put all of the bullets here, or the square brackets. I didn't put them in the spreadsheet. I put them in here. So what it actually looked like when it came in was it didn't have these on it. It all came in and it looked like one almighty list. And down here. So I'll show you taking it away and then I'll show you adding it in. So it came in looking like that. But not even with the brackets. So if I in here, let's do that, don't need you. We don't want that one either. So that one. So if I want in there to say, find me that, followed by that, followed by 2 square brackets, and replace it with nothing, that is what it will do at the beginning. If I do exactly the same again, but with the end, so I want you at the end to put in, go and find that and replace it with nothing. That's what came in from the spreadsheet. And I had to turn that into what we'd just seen, which is that. And I chose to do that in here. Really simple. Before I put the headings in, Command and A to select the lot. Then Command Shift and L, which gives me multiple cursors. Move back to the beginning, put in the bullet, put in the space, then was that Command and Shift? Command Shift and right arrow selects the rest, and the rest needs to be in square brackets. If I put in the opening square brackets, the closing square brackets are there. Then I press Escape. Then I move down to where day 2 is and put enter twice, down to day 3 and put enter twice, same for 4, same for 5, and then go back and put the headings in. So that one would be a level 2 heading, day 1, and I can be lazy and put those in and paste to say day 2 and paste to day 3. So taking time and learning what you can do with your text editor will save you an absolute ton of time. It's not obvious that you can even do the multiple cursor thing, but you can, and it makes it absolute joy to work with. So once I've got that, I will take that and I will put it in Obsidian, but I'm not going to put it in that one, which is my real one. I am going to put it in this one, get a new page, and we'll say that that is the index to there, and just paste it in. you will see that it is not deep purple because those pages don't exist yet. But they are all ready and will happen if I click on them. So at the moment they don't exist, but if I click on it, I am good to go. I can do that at that stage and not have them created because I'm going to want to put things in like the index. So I did create an index for this that looks like that, but I took it one step further in here. So now ignore the left-hand side and concentrate on the right. Happening all day, there were other things happening, obviously, but happening all day was this summit. So if I click on that, it will open this thing over here, right, which is my full index. But what I've done here is I've pulled through just day 5. Those were the sessions that were on today, all 9 of them. And how I did that, we move into it, is bang, at the beginning. I then referred to this page and I put hashtag day 5. And that pulled in just day 5. Guess what? Did the same yesterday with day 4, day 3 Wednesday, 2 on Tuesday and day 1 on Monday. So I have the best of all worlds. I don't have to navigate to that huge index here. That's just there for the sake of completeness. Mine never look at that. These are the individual pages. As you can see, it's giving you a preview of what they all look like, and they look very similar, don't they? I don't want to go into them because there's pictures of the speakers. And they didn't give me permission, so I'm not going to go into the pages, but you get the idea. Each one of those is a page, and just the notes for that session are on that page. But if I'm thinking, I know it was Good Friday when that session was on, I go straight to it, and there is that without me having to recreate it. It's pulling it through. So if I update that, I'll be updating it in the page on the left, and the page on the right will automatically update. To prove that point, if I go down to here and I put in something extra, you can actually see it appear. In fact, it didn't need that at the beginning, did it? Now I've got 2 bullets. There we go. Let's just put extra session, and there is the extra session appearing on the right-hand side. So to update it, update the one on the left. Do we have any questions on that? Oh, no. Carol says it looks like magic. Tana's a dim and distant memory, isn't it, Carol? I just love the way this is so flexible. And you can leverage other applications from outside it, like renaming apps, like multiplying the files, duplicating the files, renaming the files, the lot, and text. Sublime Text, I absolutely love it, but I wouldn't want to live without BBEdit either. And when I'm recommending a free one, it's CotEdit. So there you go. Right, okay, we will head into here because we have things coming up. Oh, we do. Next Friday, we would normally be on holiday, wouldn't we? But we're not. Somebody's run out of holiday. It's not me. It was you, wasn't it? Never mind. But we will be here, but we won't be on holiday, so we won't have to wear tin hats. If you've no idea what I'm talking about, whenever we are on holiday, it's a disaster. But it's so long, I've forgotten what some of those things were. But I definitely remember a tsunami. There were terrible things happened when we were on holiday, but we're not, so there you go. That is next Friday, but before that, I've got another session on Affinity Publisher. Again, by popular request, designing a church newsletter. There's very little difference between a church newsletter and any other kind of newsletter. Just don't tell the church newsletter people. There are unique things like verses and stuff, but the stuff I'll be demonstrating, covers and styles and things like that, they're the same in any newsletter. But if it's a church newsletter, then you'll be very happy because what we'll end up with is a church newsletter. That is on Monday night, the 10th. So it'll be Easter Monday as well, which is perfect for it, I thought. Absolutely perfect. So do join us. Right, on demand, everything we do. You will find that at youtube.com/Elaine Giles. There is a dedicated After Hours playlist, which has every episode ever of After Hours. One of them is up to over 150,000 views. Don't know what I did that week, but people enjoyed it. So do check that out. Hang on, wrong way. You will find that at macbites.co.uk/After Hours playlist. And of course, we love you guys. You love us, give us a like. It really does make a difference. And of course, you could subscribe and hit the notification bell, and then you would miss absolutely nothing. If you want first notification of the live sessions, which are not after hours, you will find those at elainegiles.com/VIP, where I will mail you details and mail you afterwards with time-stamped links. We like time-stamped links. For all things after hours and MacBites related, you need to be at macbites.co.uk/macbites-mail. You will get first notifications of after hours. You will also get afterwards links, time-stamped links. And then there's Slack, which is where we carry on the conversation. If you want to join us but are not already a member, you need to go to macbites.co.uk/join Slack. And if you are a member, you will get there at macbites.co.uk/Slack. Other than that, contact us. Yeah, I keep forgetting that we've tried that new thing. Well, sort of tried that new thing. We'll mention that next week. Otherwise, we'll be here forever, won't we? So, you can find us there. Although Mike did mention that you mentioned Twitter and toxicity in the same word, didn't you? Same sentence. Just saying. Right, so we've got any questions? Oh, Kim's happy. You're very welcome. You are very welcome. Oh, we both rock. Renee says we rock. Excellent. Excellent. Jamie would like a session on the quality of life, efficiency, typing tips. Oh, that's a good one. Simple things like selecting the text with the keyboard to anything advanced we may not know about. Oh, that's a really good idea. That's what I say when I say I fly around the keyboard. I don't touch the mouse when it comes to text. Poor mouse, he sits there. Do you remember when I had Mickey, the magic mouse? I took Mickey to Chester Zoo, don't ask. He was photographed on a table at Chester Zoo in front of the monkey cage. I think it was because I'd ridiculed Mickey, the magic mouse, and then I started using it. Then I recovered and I switched to a Logitech. But yes, I remember that. So yes, patience, the dog kept spitting his medication out. That so reminds me of Maya. Lola's quite tame, isn't she, considering?
Jeez.
Maya, no. But you see, Maya was always warned when that was happening because mostly his medication would have been antibiotics, wouldn't it? He had those about 3 times. And the problem with his antibiotics it was amoxicillin and clavulanic acid, if you're interested, but it's a penicillin. I am allergic to penicillin. And when I say allergic, I mean like if it's in the room, I'm breaking out into hives. And it was me that had to give him his pills. Mike did one end, I did the pill end. So I had to wear rubber gloves when I was doing it. And as soon as the rubber gloves went on, he knew there was medication coming. You could try and hide it in cheese. You could hide it in his food. He just wouldn't eat the food. And there's no point with like, oh, well, have a standoff till he eats it. He would have died from starvation before he would eat anything with a pill in it. And he knew. So no, I had to get these gloves. The vet did suggest blowpiping him. Putting it in the end of a straw and like blowing. Yeah. Only problem with that was I nearly ended up swallowing it, didn't I? Because he blew back. So no, we never did that. So I had to do it with rubber gloves on. So to acclimatise him to the rubber gloves, I had to sit there with rubber gloves on while we were like having dinner and stuff like that, just so he didn't think that there was anything untoward about to happen. Dogs, they're absolutely fabulous. They really are. Oh, Simon said his mate's brother had penicillin when they were kids and his head blew up like a beach ball. Thought it was going to burst. Well, I was a baby, so I have no idea. But I do remember the only doctor, literally ever, that I have ever had any respect for was my doctor. Mum moved to him. That this is a tale of doctors and woes. Mum said to Dad, I'm pregnant. So Dad was like, fine. And she went to the doctor. And the doctor said, no, you're not. So she's like, I know I am. So she went to another doctor. You're not pregnant. So Mum was like, I'm pregnant. No, it's a phantom pregnancy. You're losing your mind. I can imagine anybody saying that to my mother. No. So on to doctor number 3. She couldn't move from the idiots that said she wasn't pregnant. So this was like a practice of like 3 doctors. She went through all 3 of them. They all said it was in her mind. So I'm only a figment of her imagination. I don't actually exist, apparently. She couldn't move from that practice to this practice she wanted to be at without going somewhere else first. So she went somewhere else first. He said she wasn't pregnant. So she was like, yeah, fine. And then she went on to this doctor. She walked in. He said, oh, you're pregnant. Didn't even need to examine her to say she was pregnant. Now, I will admit, by this stage, she was 4 months gone. I think we all knew she was pregnant. But he was the only doctor I ever trusted. So when he came out, I was really ill. And he said, we'll give her penicillin. That was what they gave you. I think I was 3 months old. And obviously, you must have been ill for them to give you penicillin at that age. And when they did, he said to my mother, my mum called him back and said, like, oh my God, she's getting worse. And he came back and he took one look again. And he said, she's allergic to penicillin. Let me give her something else. So he did. And he said, whatever happens, she's allergic to it. So he put it on the notes. And he said to her, you must never, ever let them give her penicillin. Not even a sniff of it. Never. I've never seen a reaction as bad as that. So you can imagine my abject horror when I was in the hospital. Was that? No, it happened twice. I was only in the hospital twice. Once I was 21 and I'm sitting there minding my own business. And they'd said, well, you need antibiotics, you've got an infection. And they came round and it was penicillin. I said, I'm allergic to penicillin. I said, it says I'm allergic to penicillin right across the top of the notes in big red letters. And this doctor said, and I quote, oh, well, let's give you some and see how you go. I looked at him like he had completely lost his mind. My mum had drilled it into me. You must never even sniff it. That's what the doctor said. That's what this doctor said. The only doctor that was ever any use. So I said, no, let's not. Let's have some mycin of some description, shall we? I said, we could go Septrin. So there's me talking, because what he didn't know was at this stage, at 21, I was just finishing up at Oxford on a medical malpractice degree. So I knew all the names of the stuff and I knew what I was prepared to take and what I wasn't. So very grudgingly, he agreed. So when the nurses came round with the bottles, I insisted on seeing the bottles. They would decant them into like little plastic cups. I said, what is that medication? And she said, it's an antibiotic. I said, that it might be. Let me see the bottle. And she was like, what? Patients don't do that. I said, you don't like show me the bottle. I'm not taking it. So she got the bottle out. Fair enough. It was a mycin. So I'm looking in the plastic cup. I said, so I took the first dose. She came back. Every time she came back, I checked the bottle. When I looked in the plastic cup the second time, I said, why is there 4 times as many pills as there were for the first dose? Because sometimes you take an initial dose and it's double, but not the second one. Oh, don't be so argumentative. I said, can you just check? What's the dosage? They had like a clipboard on the bottom of the bed. She looked it up. She was spitting feathers. She was so cranky. She looked at it and she said, sorry, you're right. And had to put 4 of them, 3 of the 4 back in the bottle. And you wonder why I don't trust doctors. Not happening. The next time I went in, this one was even funnier. It's a, what do they call it? Teaching hospital. So the real doctor came round, didn't have a problem with him. As doctors went, he was reasonable. But he had his idiots with him. Now, having said they're idiots, they're in their 5th year medical students. You'd think they'd know one end of a bottle from the other. So he said, right, so she's allergic to penicillin, he said with the notes in his hand, in bright red, right across the top. He said, what should we give her? And this idiot, 5th year doctor, stood there and said, amoxicillin. The look on my face must have said it all, because the doctor said, what do you think to that, to me? I said, that's a penicillin. I said, actually, it's amoxicillin and clavulanic acid. I said, I need a mycin or Septrin. Well, this doctor, this baby doctor, didn't know where to look. And he's, what were they called? Consultant. The big doctor, the right doctor, the one that had been qualified, turned around to him and said, let that be a lesson to you. Oh, yeah, don't let him near any patients, for crying out loud. So, yes, it can be incredibly, incredibly allergic and dangerous. Dangerous, especially when their attitude is, we'll try it, we'll see how we go. Well, I'll be dead. So what will that tell you? You have to be so careful. And you come across as like, know it all. I want to see the bottle. But it's up to you to look after you. If you'd seen the medical cases that I had seen, you would do that automatically, which I do. I was taking my mother in with me when I was 23 years of age, and the doctor didn't mind in the slightest because she knew me. And I would always take somebody in with me. You know, whatever you're saying, I'm going to take it down and use it in evidence against you. And by the way, I've got a witness. They didn't like that in the hospital. They were trying to get rid of my mother. But I threatened them and I said, you know, one more request that my mum leaves and I will handcuff her to the bed. So then they calmed down a bit. Oh, I'm terrible with doctors, aren't I, Mike? Not allowed near them. If I ever need a doctor, I am so knackered. I'll tell you that. Good night, Renee. Right, let me catch up with here. Sarah's going as well. Good night to you. What's this? I see you could do it. You're amazed. You wish you could do it. Is this the text thing? Yeah. I will look at the text thing and think about it. It's quite difficult to demonstrate because I'm having to talk through what I'm doing. And the only way to do it, I mean, sometimes when Mike says, what's the shortcut key for that? I've not got a clue. Not a clue. It's muscle memory. So I'll have to like put my hands over my keyboard and then I'll tell him what it is. So it can be quite difficult to demonstrate, but never mind. We'll see what we can do. Oh, Carol's got a Logitech too. I can't imagine life without it now. I love the extra buttons. But Mickey had his place. You were taxed with pill duty, Jamie. You're the strict one. And I just pushed it down his throat wearing rubber gloves. He loathed it, but, you know, it had to be done. The one I'm remembering, he got some kind of... It's like a skin thing on his face, wasn't it? On his snout. And his fur was coming off and it was leaving like green behind. His skin turned green. So it's like, definitely need the vet. But nothing went right. You know, when you're at the vet, you know, Maya can take penicillin. He was fine. But at the vet, do you remember, he had the wrong dose and the wrong price. Yeah. And the thing is, when you're at the vet, you know, you're not talking like a prescription at £6.50 or whatever they are now. This was like £65. And I said, are these gold plated? And then we realised he'd like charged us for the entire box, not just the 12 that were in there for Maya. So Mike had to go back. But, you know, you're there with the dog with like, I hope no one's eating, but green goo coming out of a cut on his face, trying to look after him while Mike's going back in to argue the toss over the bill because it's clearly wrong. It's every time we go anywhere. That's why we don't bother. Patients can take a penicillin. I think you're lucky because it's the first thing they offer you. It's the first thing they offer you. I think with mine, from what Mum said, it was less like a rash. There was a rash, but I couldn't breathe. I couldn't breathe properly. And that's what he was saying. This would be terminal. You know, we've got to get her off this. We've got to get her something else. But, you know, a 3-month-old baby, that is tricky. And then, of course, what they gave me was erythromycin, and it shouldn't have been given to children under 12 because it impacts the growth of the teeth, which Kim will tell you all about. So that didn't end well either. Teaching hospitals are great things. You have similar experiences. Exactly. It's scary. But I suppose a situation like that doctor would then never forget that ever. Another thing that happened during that same hospital stay was one that was actually fully qualified. So she was working unsupervised. And she wakes me up at 3:20 in the morning and needs a blood draw. I'm like, it's 3:20. She said, yes, but I need it and I'm on duty. So I said, fine, go for your life. She started trying. OMG. She was still there an hour and 20 minutes later, by which time I'd changed wards and she'd come with me. And it took her 37 attempts. She was so embarrassed. And she said, like, you know, I am actually qualified. I don't know what you must think. I thought, well, actually, no worse than I thought when you walked in, because I think all doctors are idiots. So I said, it's fine, you know, I'm used to it, it's fine. So she said, oh, what will everybody say? And I said, look, by this stage, it was about 4:30 in the morning. No, actually, I think it was about 4:45. I said, look, it's 4:45 in the morning. No one's here and I'm not telling anyone. Go for your life. So off she went, quite happy. So when Mike came in, I said, I'm coming home. He said, why have you got all these bruises? I said, it's a long story, but I'm going home. I think they're a great experience for those being taught, but not a great experience, potentially, if they're not monitored closely enough for those. Right, okay. Oh, here's jamming with a trick. Drop it at the back of the throat, quickly lift the chin, Stops them being able to open their mouth without stopping them breathing. Yeah, I think we tried all of that, Jammy. No. The only thing we could do was shove it down his throat. I mean, he was spitting him out on his walk, wasn't he, 20 minutes later? Oh, he was a menace. An absolute menace, but we loved him to death. Peter likes, with his Logitech, being able to cut on the PC and paste on the Mac and vice versa. I've not set that up. I love the buttons to copy and paste. I absolutely love that. And I think I can paste between machines because most of the time I'm accessing it with remote desktop. And it works for me, but it doesn't work for Mike. So bad words get said about that. But there you go. So we need to head off, don't we? Because it's late.
We do.
It is. It's late. So I will say good night from me.
And good night from me.
We will both see you next time. Stay safe, guys.